My ex came back demanding I pay her child support. 7 years ago, I was married to my dear ex. We were together for 6 years at this point. I thought we had a great relationship, and prior I received a nice inheritance. I used the money first to buy a condo for us to live, a new car for her because hers was falling apart as a thank you for her constant support over the years, and the rest went to starting my own company. I thought we loved each other. We had talked endless times about kids. We both wanted a family. One day I came home from work and she was seated on the couch and signalled for me to sit with her. Then she told me she was pregnant. I was happy for like half a millisecond when I realised about the impossibility of this happening because we were both cis women. I started to cry for what it meant. Then she started to cry and said sorry, but that this could be a good thing now. Incredulously, I asked how on earth could this be a good thing. She said that this could be the perfect opportunity for us to have the family we always wanted. I didn't have the energy to argue at that moment, so I went to pack some things and told her I was going to be staying with my cousin for a few days and come back to talk. I was a complete disaster with my cousin for a week. Then I returned, said I wanted a divorce, packed all the rest of my things while she tells me that she can't do it without me and that I'm abandoning our child. I said nothing. I couldn't speak. I didn't have it in me to do anything but pack and leave. In the divorce, I let her have the condo. Her car, it was in my name. She demanded alimony. I gave it to her for a year, even though she wasn't really entitled to it. She demanded child support, but was denied for obvious reasons. A year later, it was done. A month before the divorce was finalised, I met a woman. I wasn't sure about dating, but my friends encouraged me to get back out there, so I did. It was slow, and I told her about my past. She felt really bad for me. We went on dates, we kissed, and then she stopped responding to my texts and calls for a week. I didn't know what was happening. She then shows up at my home looking sad. She tells me she's pregnant, to which I think, not again. But she quickly explains that she found out a few days ago. She had an appointment that day and was told she was about 16 weeks along, that she did not cheat since we'd known each other for 3 months, that she knows this might be somehow triggering for me, and that she really likes me but understands if I want nothing to do with her, and left. Ultimately, I couldn't let her go, and we stayed together. The whole ordeal was a bit confusing at first, but we worked it out. Now my company is on the rise, and it's been a few years. We bought a house, got married, had 2 more kids, a dog and a cat. Her family loves me, and my family loves her. But then, last Saturday, my ex appeared again. We were in a family gathering on my wife's side when she showed up to my wife's aunt's house to expose me as a horrible person who abandoned her wife and child and left them with nothing to go start a new family with a tramp and raise someone else's child, and that since I have money, I have to start paying the overdue child support and blah blah blah. Apparently she befriended my wife's cousin in the PTA, told her about me. She gave my name, and wife's cousin's wife was shocked and appalled by my actions and decided they were going to confront me in the family gathering for everyone to hear and show them the evidence. My wife tried to argue back but was cut by her aunt, the cousin's mum, and in a not very nice way kicked us out with a promise to take my treatment of my ex public and ruin my company. We left stunned, and my wife vowed she was going to start World War III if anyone dared to slander me. On Sunday morning, we got a call from my wife's dad, aunt's brother, to talk about what the texts and voicemails they were receiving were about. They didn't go to the gathering. We went over for lunch and explained everything that happened. They knew I got divorced in the past, but I never told them why. They were understanding of the situation, but my mother-in-law still said that since I do have money, I should help my ex out, pay the child support, get her a place if she needs it, and be a parental figure in my ex-daughter's life. After all, the child was conceived during your marriage. She has some odd spiritual beliefs. My wife is now mad at her mum for saying that. My wife's siblings are mostly on our side, except one who's close to the cousin, and the cousin believes his wife, and we've been ignoring the extended family. Thank you for frickin' existing, dear ex. God, just 'cause you make a lot of money doesn't mean you're a piggy bank for everyone who needs it. Least of all your ex-wife who cheated on you. Jeez, let's go to a quick update. Hi, sorry I didn't update before. It's been hectic. Between my kids' routine changes with the school year ending, my wife, my business, and the situation with my ex, I haven't been able to even watch the last season of Succession. First, I want to clear some things. I saw a lot of people got fixated on the fact that I gave the condo to my ex. I get it, but in the moment I was just so low. I still had some love for her too, I guess, and I wanted to get rid of everything. So I thought, Well, she'll need a place for her and her child, and it will be faster to just give it to her. So I did, even against my lawyer's advice. My wife did not cheat on me. She slept with someone weeks before we even met. Then we met. A month after that, we went on our first date. 2 months into our relationship, she finds out she was pregnant. We talked and moved forward, but slowly. We didn't move in together the next day. We just stayed together to see how things would go. It could have ended at any time, but it didn't, and we moved in together when the kid was almost a year old. Mother-in-law has some weird spiritual thing with some of her friends going on since forever. It never bothered me really, but I do think some of her views are questionable. I did mention to her that I gave my ex the condo. She said, "But you don't know if she still has it." Someone said that that's what she thinks because she cheated on father-in-law and my wife, and her siblings may be a product of that. Honestly, I don't feel comfortable bringing that up with my wife right now, or anyone for that matter, so I won't do that. Okay, so a few things happened. I got all the documentation about the divorce. I made copies and handed them to my wife's family, and made sure everyone could see the whole thing. I got some mixed reactions. There were people who told me they knew my ex was clearly crazy from the beginning, and said next to nothing because they thought it was obvious, but those that believed her were just as crazy, so talking to them would be like talking to a wall, so they just moved on. They did apologize for not saying anything. They didn't think it could be so detrimental to me when it's clearly fake. I'm not mad at them now. With most of them, we're not exactly close. They're extended relatives. Others did believe my ex at first because she had, quote, evidence, but after showing them my documents, they apologized profusely and said they would support me suing her and be witnesses and such. And then there were those who still believed my ex, like cousin's wife, aunt, and a few others who were close to them that accused me of falsifying documents. Brother-in-law, who's close to cousin, has said nothing about anything. He doesn't seem to be on their side, but did not admit he was wrong either, just silence from him. I filed a restraining order. The temporary one was denied, but I have a hearing scheduled. I had a meeting with one of my biggest clients last week. We've known each other for a long time. Professionally, we're not friends, but he knew I got divorced years ago. When he arrived at the reception, I received him and asked him to follow me. He stopped me and said someone went to his office and told him about me abandoning a child, and asked me if it was true. I said it was false, told him a brief recap, and offered to show him my divorce documents. He said it was not needed. He trusts my word and offered his help if I needed in the future. We moved on to our meeting. I was really ticked that she actually went for my business, but then something even worse happened. My lawyer has been drafting a cease and desist letter, and I was debating whether I should just sue her or wait for the letter. Then Saturday happened. I took my kids to the mall to buy some things for summer. School classes are over, but their school still has some activities during the week, and there's a big event next weekend, and other things we needed to buy things for. We went and left my wife at home to relax. It's getting harder for her. When we came back, I gave the kids some bags and told them to go inside with them. Mama has a snack for them. I would handle the rest. I do a few trips in and out of the house, and when I'm finishing unloading the trunk, I hear, "Mummy?" I turn around and there was a little girl standing there. I was confused. The girl seemed scared. Then I see my ex approaching. She tells the girl, yes, that's what she's supposed to be. The girl was still and silenced for the rest of the exchange, but my ex went off on me. I'm paraphrasing here, but this is basically the exchange. Ex: I can't believe you wouldn't want to be in her life. She is an amazing kid, an innocent kid that did nothing wrong. You just abandoned her. And for what? For a random tramp who sleeps with everyone, gets pregnant, and then makes you responsible for her kid. Me: wasn't it you who tried to do that? Ex: I was not a random chick. It was different. Me: yeah, the difference is that she did not cheat on me and I chose to be responsible. She didn't try to force me. Ex: that doesn't make it fair. How could you not think of her, points to the little girl, when you bring kids from the street and care for them, in reference to our 2 older kids being adopted. Your kids go to private school while I have to move for her to go to the school I want her to go to. Is she invisible to you? Me: are you nuts? Please leave. I don't have time for this. Ex: what? You don't want your perfect little family to see who you really are? Me: you leave or I'll call the police. Ex: as if you would do that. Just be reasonable for once and we won't have any more problems. Then my wife came out of the house. Wife said, I already called the police. They're on their way. I suggest you leave before they arrive. Come inside. I grabbed the last 2 bags and went inside. Through the window, I saw my ex grabbing the little girl by her arm rather harshly and dragged her to the car. Then she left. I'm actually worried about the girl. The police showed up. We talked to them, showed them footage, we have cameras, even footage from my car. I filed again for a temporary restraining order and was approved, so that's good for now. I told my lawyer to forget about the letter. I'm suing her ass. And I can confirm she doesn't live in the condo anymore. I'm not sure what happened to it or where she's living now, but we'll see. Let's check out some comments. I'm seriously blown away by the absolute insanity that is your ex. Like seriously, how did she think this was going to go? Did she think you'd just happily pay child support for her affair, baby? I'm actually baffled at her actions, and if you don't mind me asking, was she ever like this during your marriage, or is this type of behaviour a new development? Also, I'd keep an eye on mother-in-law. If she's that adamant on you being involved in your ex's child's life, she might take it upon herself to start involving the ex and her child and things. So be careful on what info you give her, and keep an eye on her when she's around your children, as she could fill their heads with thoughts of their new sibling. Oh man, your ex is delusional. She cheated on you. She went through the effort of talking and forming a connection with someone else while you were together, slept with them, got pregnant, and demands you to be the other parent? Where is the baby daddy in all of this? This woman needs CPS called on her. Really, call CPS and give them the footage that shows how unhinged she is to drag a kid to a stranger and call her mummy. Poor kid. Love your wife though, she's a rock on fire. Okay, on to the next update. Hello again, it's been a few weeks. Ex hasn't showed up at my door again since last time, thank the universe. She did however show up at my office looking for me last Monday, but I wasn't there, as I'm now working mostly from home to help my wife who's in bed rest for the foreseeable future due to complications with the pregnancy. I did go to the office on Thursday, and as I was leaving to go home, my ex's sister was waiting for me. We were close back then, but cut contact when the whole cheating happened, and my therapist basically advised me to. Anyway, she said she's been coming for a few days and waiting outside hoping to see me, and she needed to talk to me and it was really important. So we went to a cafe nearby and she told me what my ex has been up to since the divorce. She sold the condo about 1.5 years after the divorce was finalised and moved to a house. She's renting it. She said ex said it was a quick way to make money to buy all the stuff a kid would need growing up. As the time went on, her family saw stranger than normal behaviours in her. I'm not going to go into much detail, otherwise we'd be here a long time, but essentially she was diagnosed with bipolar disorder about 2 years ago and was treated for a bit, but then she stopped. I talked to my lawyer. He said that makes some things tricky, as she could defend not guilty by reason of insanity, but the fact that she's been refusing treatment for a while now would help my case. Sister said that she's sorry for how ex is acting and she would help me with whatever I need with the case. She's still around her sister to try and mitigate her episodes for the sake of her niece. I asked why CPS hasn't gotten involved, and she said her parents are butting in for that to not happen. I couldn't stay longer. I had to get home before my sister-in-law had to leave, so we exchanged numbers and will be in contact if needed. That's all for now. I have the hearing for the permanent restraining order this week, so hopefully that goes well. Sister said ex let it slip that she's not sure who the biological dad is because she slept with 4 different people, 3 guys, around the time the kid was conceived. When I learned this, I felt even more stupid that she was just sleeping around, and I had no clue. Okay, let's jump straight to the last update. Hi guys, sorry it's been so long. The youngest of our bunch was feeling excluded, always being in that same room all the time, and she decided to come out earlier than expected. Mixed with the NICU stay and school starting, I feel like I would like to sleep into the next year, but thankfully everyone is doing great now. On to my ex. The anxiety levels I was managing were off the charts back then. They're still high, but I can breathe. Basically, there was silence for about 2 weeks, and then I got a call that she attempted to cash out a fake check in my name. I have no idea how she found my bank, but just like the fertility clinic documents, the check was clearly fake and didn't fool the clerk. She was arrested immediately. Right now, she's in a psychiatric facility receiving treatment. I'm not sure how long she'll stay there, but once she's out, she's going to trial for check fraud, and from what I've been told, it doesn't look good for her. On the other hand, her parents are aware that I was planning to sue her and that I have evidence of other forgery crimes committed by her. They begged me not to pursue them since that would likely send their daughter away for longer. Maybe unpopular, but I made a deal with them that somehow they would make sure that everyone she defamed me to will know the truth. I don't want to deal with this right now, so I accepted. So far, so good. In regards to the girl, I'm happy to say she's with my ex-sister-in-law right now. I won't go into detail, but it seems that there's no way for my ex to get her back in the future. Even though it's not my business, I let my ex-sister-in-law know that if her parents try to get the girl, I will help her with that. My wife and I are also taking some distance from my mother-in-law. It seems that my ex befriending the cousin was a coincidence that they both decided to use for their own advantages. The cousin and the aunt just used my ex's lies to get revenge on me, since apparently they work harder than me to make less money than me, and it's not fair. I don't think I'm forgetting anything, but let me know if I am. Alrighty guys, and that's the end of that story. Yeah, I mean, I knew the ex was crazy, but like, mental facility crazy? Jeez, I did not see that coming. What do you guys think about this story? Let me know down below. Okay, let's go to the next one. Okay, this next one's from the Am I the A-hole subreddit. It was written by user TittyBean4, and it's titled, Am I the a-hole for telling my friend's boyfriend that he shouldn't have been allowed to eat? Some friends and I decided to do the trend where we have a dinner and everybody brings a food that starts with the first letter of their name. There's one friend of ours that's a bit of a moocher. Whenever we go out, she never pays for stuff. Whether it's the dinner bill, tickets for the movies, etc., we always end up paying for her. But everyone accepted this and doesn't really have an issue with it. However, recently it's become worse. She's been dating this guy for a couple of months and she brings him everywhere with her, even when he's not invited. So now we have 2 people to pay for. Also, I feel like I have to say that they have jobs. They're not struggling. It'd be different if they were broke. Then of course I wouldn't mind. But yeah, we had the dinner last night and everybody brought food and put a lot of effort into it. These 2, however, showed up with absolutely nothing. Not even a bottle of soda. We were annoyed, but nobody said anything. It wasn't until the end of the night, when they were leaving, that I cracked a little. The friend's boyfriend was taking home all the barbecue ribs that were left. I repeat, all of it, and it was a lot. Like damn, be considerate at least. He emptied the entire tray of ribs into a container. That's when I politely asked, can you maybe not take all of it? The others might want some too. He got all defensive and asked, why are you treating me like I'm stealing all the food? I clarified that I never said such a thing and that I only asked that he didn't take all of it. He got angry, plopped the ribs back and said, fine, I don't need your food. To which I replied, it kinda seems like you do, and to be honest, you shouldn't have eaten at all since you didn't contribute again, as usual. Then my friend came, took him and just left without saying anything. Now apparently she's angry with us, mainly me. Most of my friend group doesn't think I did anything wrong, but there are a couple who are saying that I shouldn't have said anything. The thing is that I didn't even say anything to my friend because I don't mind that she doesn't contribute. Her boyfriend was the one irritating me. He eats the most food, but doesn't contribute, drinks the most alcohol, doesn't contribute, orders really expensive meals at restaurants, doesn't contribute towards the bill. I guess I kinda got annoyed and snapped at him. I tried phoning her to clarify that I don't have any issue with her, but she's ignoring me. I don't know, maybe I should have left well enough alone. Wow, yeah, another severe case of underreaction, I think. I would not be letting this guy anywhere near my gatherings. Let's go to the comments. You're not the a-hole for this event, but why on earth do you and your friends tolerate them mooching like that? Tell them that they need to pay their own way, and do it. If you go to a movie, buy your own tickets and let them pay or leave. Get separate checks at restaurants. When the server first comes to the table, tell them you'll need separate checks. As a former restaurant employee, I can tell you that it's fairly easy to split a check if you know it'll be split before you start entering things, and a royal pain to go back and split a check you entered together. You and your friends have been complete doormats. When you let bad behavior repeatedly go unchallenged, it never stops and often worsens. Not the a-hole, and you should tell them both that you can't afford to support your own habit and theirs too. Honestly, who wants friends like that anyway? Not the a-hole. Their freeloading needs to stop being tolerated. It's very nice of you to not mind doing it for your friend, but how good of a friend is she if she brings another non-contributor? Okay, on to an update. I wanted to clarify, the reason I said I don't really have a problem with her not contributing is because I personally never paid for her in terms of dinner, tickets, etc. I've paid for exactly a drink, some popcorn and parking before, but she obviously still benefits from me and the others when we bring food and drinks, and she brings nothing. I've always thought it was unfair, but nobody wanted to say anything, so I left it alone. I should also mention that she's a friend by association. I've only known her since the beginning of this year. I confronted her like many of you suggested and started off by saying I thought it was unfair her boyfriend was taking all the food, and that's why I spoke up. She said she's sorry and the boyfriend only did that because he didn't think anyone would mind. I should say that even though she eats at these things, she's never taken copious amounts of food before. I said that I don't speak on behalf of everyone, but I feel it's unfair that she keeps bringing her boyfriend and also that she never contributes to anything. Since then, she's just been apologetic. I thought she would respond by saying that she would start to contribute, but instead, she asked why I cared so much because I don't even eat ribs, and that I embarrassed her and her boyfriend for nothing. I don't eat meat, but that was beside the point. My friend put a lot of hours into cooking those ribs just for this guy to take them all. No, it's not right. And I didn't make a scene, he did. I spoke very politely, so I explained that again, and said that she's been an inconsiderate friend. She said, "I don't know why you're attacking me when nobody else has a problem," then said that she didn't want to associate with me anymore. I said that was fine, and that was the end of it. I told the others the outcome, and the friend that introduced Mooch to us was really mad that I caused a rift between everyone over food. So the group essentially split up, and those who were irritated with me will continue to hang out with her. The others, who secretly found her annoying but were too polite, also spoke up and decided to branch off too. Our Mooch-free group hung out a couple of times already, and all the complaints are finally being released. Also, everybody brings something now, which is nice. Not just that, but it's a more relaxing and stress-free environment without them. The introducer friend is trying to poach some of the new group, to no avail, which I think is funny, but anyway, that's it. Sorry if this was anticlimactic, and I know this is like juvenile high school stuff, but hey, that's what happened. Yeah, well, juvenile high school stuff seems to happen all too often on this subreddit. What do you guys think about that story? Let me know down below. My mum is nosy. I, 24 female, recently got married in late September of this year to my husband, 28 male. Last year we moved in together when I got engaged. My husband bought a house in the US while my parents lived in Japan. My mum has been staying with us since the wedding because it's her first time in our home, and she wants us all to fly back together to Japan for winter holidays in November. My mum has always been a very controlling person throughout my life. For some background to explain her personality, she's always had high expectations from me, very hypercritical of my looks, academics, talents, forced me into ballet as a child, then essentially admonished me for not having the idealistic slender body of a ballerina. I have a narrow upper body, but a curvier lower body with naturally wide hips. Anatomy which cannot be changed with any diet, but she would still try to starve me because my shape was unbecoming for a ballerina. She would not let me play in the sun or join sports. She would not let me cut my hair. I could not hang out with friends after school. Extra tutoring, extracurriculars, strict routines. If I upset her in any way, she would smack me on the palms of my hands until they were raw. I could have a fever and be at home from school, and she would still come into my room and sit on my bed to make me study. Even if I was delirious, I had to stay conscious, participate and provide the right answers. I had a rough upbringing, to say the least. Anyway, I've largely addressed most of these things as I've grown up and independent of her, but a few things remain as ongoing struggles. She is incredibly nosy and still tries to critique my life and all of my decisions. My husband is Japanese-Korean-American mix. When she first saw a photo of him, she was swooning, but as soon as I told her his background, she had a problem about his race. She said such horrible things, some of which still echo in my mind today. I have a better relationship with my dad, but my dad is very submissive when it comes to my mum. My husband is the only person who can control my mum. He is very assertive and blunt. He has an intimidating aura and is unfortunately the only person who can put her in her place. To find her way around this, now my mum waits until he's out of the house to come for me. Ever since she's been living here, I feel like prey in my own home. She's been snooping around the house and did a lot of it while we were gone on our honeymoon. We have a detached garage next to the house. My husband uses the main floor garage, and upstairs he converted it into an art studio for me. My mum has gone through my studio and looked through all my journals and sketchbooks. She has gone through our closet, my clothes, my lingerie, personal items, jewelry, and most recently, my adult content drawer. I basically have a drawer in her closet in which I keep all that stuff. We put a lock on it for obvious reasons. She started degrading me about it. I was so upset I was streaming with tears. It was only when I threatened to tell my husband did she admit it took her several days, but she eventually found the key. When she does these invasions of privacy, she won't admit to them, but I'll know she's seen something private of mine that she doesn't like, because she will not so subtly hint her disapproval. It will show in her behaviour, attitude, general vibe that she's displeased, and then she will poke me over and over again to force me to play a twisted guessing game with her. It is nauseating and painful. I know she's my mum. I will love and take care of her no matter what. She has her good moments too, but her personality is so exhausting. I'm sure my dad is having a great time in Japan living alone while she's with us here. I feel so guilty about it, but I look forward to having space from her again. I'm counting down the days. When I see other people and their closeness to their mums, I can't relate. I feel really sad about that. That's partly why I think I try so hard to bring my mum close, but her behaviours and judgments always hurt me. I wish I was stronger, but I admit lately I don't have the energy to deal with her. Tonight she was getting physical after having too much wine, while yelling at me about my decision to take a break from work. Luckily my husband came home early. I ran and got behind him for cover. She kept trying to reach around him to grab me. She was not listening to his calm voice, so he had to raise his voice on her, and that's when she stopped suddenly and just went to her room. When she acts like that, I feel so anxious. I was holding my partner's shirt in my fist so tightly, I didn't realize my nails were digging into my skin. I left her water, ibuprofen, a small meal at her door. I just know for about a day she's going to give me the silent treatment and start refusing to eat. I'm so tired. One comment says, "What the F? Kick her out." My husband did tell her since she got physically abusive that night, if there is even one more incident he will buy her a plane ticket and send her home early. I just hate that she sours, and it will impact our holiday time as family later this year. I feel bad for my dad too. He needs a break from her. That's why I'm putting up with her. I'll try to sit down and tell her she cannot get physical with me, even though she will claim she was drunk and doesn't remember. Someone in the comments shares their experience with their own mum and reminds OP she's an adult and does not have to put up with this. OP replies, "My mum is very much like yours. She will find a way to become a victim, which is why she'll do things like refusal to eat, let herself become sick even. It's her attempt to get out of the blame and reorient herself as the person we should be sorry for. My husband has given her a final warning for her behaviour, or else he will send her home. I'm sorry you've had to endure similar things." Another commenter shares their experience and tells OP cutting their mum out was the best thing for them. OP replies, "Thank you so much for sharing your story. It has given me a lot of comfort actually. I think I'm stuck on a hurdle you have now gotten past, where I keep giving my mum chances. Because of the wedding I opened up my heart to her again and tried to start fresh, but I'm learning a lesson from it now. So I agree with you that some people truly don't change. She has no desire to. I will outline and set firm boundaries for visits moving forward, and limit my contact as much as possible with phone calls, texts and stuff. As for this current visit, my husband has given her a warning, stating he has no issue booking her a new plane ticket and sending her home early if she ever picks another flight with me. She hasn't spoken to me all day, but at least it's quiet. Thank you again for taking your time to share." One more thought from OP. "Yes, it's unfortunate for everyone. I'm putting up with her living with us for a while because I know it's temporary, as we otherwise live an ocean away, but also because I want to give my poor dad a break from her. A lot of people suggest to cut her out completely, but I can't do that. Maybe it's a cultural thing, or maybe just my personality, but I don't have the heart to abandon her. It would bring on a different kind of stress, but I have tried my best to create separation and boundaries. The distance between our homes is a deterrent, and I will continue to work on the inner walls within myself, so the impact of her behaviour doesn't take root. I think I'm just a little more sensitive than usual because of the recent wedding. I let myself become so vulnerable for that, and I think she's taking advantage. Thank you so much for your comments." Okay, now for a separate post OP posted on Am I the A-hole? It's titled, "Would I be the a-hole for sending my mother back to Japan earlier than anticipated due to her behaviour? My mother is currently visiting with us. We have a difficult relationship to say the least, and I've recently expressed this on Reddit in another post. I am unfortunately back here on this website because I'm at a loss for how to wrap my head around a new situation, which honestly feels like a retaliation or some kind of attempt at asserting control. My husband is currently away for work, leaving just my mother and I in our new house. My mother is visiting from Japan as we recently got married. She has been staying with us. The plan was for us to travel back to Japan together in November. Since she arrived, my brother has been a lot, to say the least. She had already received a final warning from my husband. My husband told her if her behaviour toward me persisted, he will have no problem buying her a new plane ticket and sending her home early by herself. Specific to this scenario, she has been criticising our home in the most unnecessary ways. We purchased our home brand new, turnkey. We have put a lot of work on top of that as well. My mum, however, takes great satisfaction in finding faults in minuscule details, which she claims is constructive. She has been obsessed with the guest room closet. It is a large walk-in closet, as this guest room is usually the main floor master. When we put her up in this room, I'd explained to my mother the reason there is shelving on only one side of this closet is because we explicitly requested this from the designer during the finishing. We wanted space to neatly store some seasonal items and sports gear. With this simple explanation, I thought the subject had been closed. Yesterday I came home from a run, wearing headphones. I went upstairs to my bathroom. I was about to start my shower, but shut the water off because I kept hearing this strange drilling sound below me. When it wouldn't stop, I wrapped a towel around myself and went downstairs, calling out for my mother. There was no response. I followed the sound and ran into two men standing around the small foyer and hall area that connects to the guest room. They stared back, half smiling, half dumbfounded. I was so shocked, I just froze. My mum appeared behind me, which gave me another scare. I almost screamed. She said something like, "OP, oh my, put some clothes on, stupid girl," in Japanese. I was speechless, crimson, embarrassed. I got myself out of there. I finished my shower, got dressed, by which time the men had all left. I confronted my mother. Without asking me or my husband, who was conveniently away, she found these random men from online. They're probably not even certified or a real company. Invited him into our home and had shelves put in. The shelves don't even match, by the way. I will now have to remove them and clean up the wall. I feel humiliated and disturbed at what I can only assume is a twisted power move. I have to pay for this service because my mother claims she does not have the money, but also it is your house. She gave access to her home to people from Facebook or something who could have cased the place after she so graciously told them it is just the two of us women currently living here, but more often just me, as in her words, my awful husband is frequently away. I've been having a hard time falling asleep at night because I'm worried about getting robbed, or worse. I live in a secluded area, on an acreage surrounded by woods, absolutely surrounded. I can't even see my neighbours. Since my husband had warned her to keep her behaviour in check, I feel like it is absolutely fair to send her back to Japan early, but I'm also scared to send her because then I'll be alone. I don't have any siblings, but I have a cousin abroad who thinks I'm being an a-hole if I send my mum packing. She is a frail woman and never travels alone. She is also my mother, no matter how horrid she can be. My husband said he will book her a first-class ticket with someone to collect her from the plane and escort her, that she will be comfortable. He wants me to stand my ground. He assures me I'll be safe. He can monitor the home from our security system, brief to me on some scenarios, things like that. A part of me wants to keep her here so I won't be alone. She and I are currently not speaking to each other. Her decision, ironically. Yeah, honestly, if I was OP, I'd be getting rid of her. What would you guys do? Let me know. Alright, let's go to the update post for this one. Same day. I am booking her flight right now. She is feigning an aura migraine, asked me to take her to ER, which I'm not doing. So now I'm being accused of letting her suffer. We have pain meds at home and there is nothing ER can do for aura migraine. I'm going to try to take her phone away because she will 100% call her own ambulance. Oh my god, I regret letting her back into my life so much. Thank you to everyone for your support. You have given me the push I need to follow through and send her home. This is the first vertebra I'm gaining in hopes of one day growing a spine. I'll probably explore my excessive guilt around this decision in therapy. In the meantime, I'll try to keep reminding myself I've done the right thing. One commenter says, "Get security, don't pay the guys and send her home." Opie says, "Fortunately we have cameras and a security system. It's more just my general sense of unease, knowing she picked these random people off of Facebook Marketplace. I think I have to pay for the closet because I don't want retaliation or issues with the men who did the work they were hired to do. The money involved in this situation is frustrating, but it's whatever. It's everything else that's breaking my heart. And I feel annoyed at myself for feeling guilty about sending her home. While on the internet it seems unanimous that I should. My family and friends are telling me to have some patience and stick to our original travel schedule 2 weeks from now. My husband says it's more about the principle of it than the convenience at this point, and he's willing to put in extra money to send her home, stat, because she broke her promise to him and disregarded his warning in his absence. He wants to execute for that alone. I feel torn, I'm hesitating and emotional about it. I recently lost a grandparent, maternal grandmother, to travel during COVID, so I get scared of something happening to my mum. Then I'll feel sorry forever. Several commenters are fairly blunt about how Opie needs to grow a spine. Opie says, "Thank you for being very blunt with me. I think I need to develop some maturity in this area, because clearly I'm being quite passive. I am almost unknowingly making excuses for her to stay instead of following through with the warning my husband laid out for her very clearly. Reading these comments is making me realize that. I'm also realizing that I've hid behind my husband while he handles my mother, but what he deserves is for me to stand my own ground too. I need to start exercising my own assertiveness instead of always leaving it to him. Not only does that always make him the bad guy, you're right, it will become so tiresome for him." Someone says, "You're probably thinking it's not that bad, but it is. Also, get therapy." Opie replies, "You're right. If I hadn't come on here, I would not have been able to see it. It's when you all present it back to me that it becomes so painfully crystal. I feel shocked that when I'm left to my own devices and thought processes, I can't see what I see now, so I'm definitely being blindsided, and I will seriously consider therapy to undo that. I appreciate your support so much. I wish I could express better how helpful it has been." Someone suggests Mum wants something else. Opie says, "She has been hinting at wanting to move in, but I've largely ignored this. She keeps saying, 'When you're expecting, we'll talk about it then.'" One commenter asks, "She deliberately put you in danger? What the heck is wrong with her?" Opie replies, "This is one of her manipulation tactics. She puts me in uncomfortable situations because she knows my embarrassment will overwhelm me. She's been doing that to me my whole life, putting me down to keep me under her control, humiliating me in front of the men by leading me into that situation when it's likely she 100% heard me calling her name. She stayed quiet as a mouse on purpose. I think a doctor once diagnosed her with borderline personality disorder, among some other things like complex PTSD. Instead of exploring her mental health, which I offered to help her navigate, she changed doctors." On her family catering to the mum, Opie says, "It's true that even my dad is very much under her control. One of the reasons I was putting up with her behaviour was to give my poor dad some time apart from her too. They flew in together for my wedding, and he left on his own. My dad has heart problems. I'm sure her behaviour does not help his blood pressure. He had a heart attack a few years ago from stress and has several stents in now. The source of the stress is probably my mother. I was sacrificing my sanity a lot because I wanted him to get a well-deserved break, but it's been several weeks now and she's escalating. If I don't act, I might undermine my own husband, and I don't want to disrespect him. Thank you for being frank with me. This is very true about my family. They're also very keeping up appearances type." One commenter mentions they were probably not real tradesmen. Opie says they absolutely were not. They were scary-looking randoms, standing around sipping on beer, which my mum provided to them. Only one guy was working. 3 people for what they did was unnecessary. She was offering a bowl of trail mixes if entertaining guests. I'm going to cringe for a long time revisiting that experience in my memories. My husband still doesn't know the part of the scenario where I was in a towel. I wanted to control his rage a little. I will tell him that detail in person. One more comment from OP and why she hasn't gone no contact. "I was childishly hoping by moving across the ocean my problems with her would diminish. For a long time I was no contact with her, but I've opened up communication very recently when I got married. I introduced her to my partner, invited her to my wedding, let her stay with us and tried to start fresh. It was a big mistake and I'm having a rude awakening, like the phrase you give someone an inch and they take a mile. I'm feeling like she's trying to manipulate me into accepting her to live with us by making me feel unsafe and incapable in my own home. If not that, then she's just mad at my husband for making a threat, and so in his absence, she's pushing me with this absurd power move to see whose side I'm on." Okay, let's go to the last update. My mum's flight was at 2 a.m, direct with no stops. I packed her belongings the night before while she was having her, quote, migraine, aka sipping wine and gossiping on the phone. I placed her suitcases in my vehicle. I informed her of my decision in the morning. Leading up to it, I discussed her behaviour since the wedding. listing all the incidents and her lack of remorse or willingness to respect us in our home. I reminded her of the warning my husband had given her only a few days ago, and that as a result of her actions, I will be following through with his warning in his absence. She will be going home. She smiled the whole time while I was talking. I asked her, "Mum, do you understand?" She said she understands that I am, hard to translate in English, basically a weakling or coward who is blindly carrying out my husband's bidding. She also made a point to be extra cruel by describing my husband as having dirty blood, and a few other slurs I won't get into due to the second-hand embarrassment and shame I feel about it. My partner is mixed race. She has specifically strong anti-Korean sentiment. It's so stupid. I clarified that this decision is mine. My husband is not here. She gave a rude laugh. I explained her flight information. "We'll see," she said. I don't think it hit her that this was really happening until later that evening when I started to pack up the few remaining things, like her essentials and carry-on stuff. She tried to fight with me to undo the packing. She slapped me many times, but I continued. Literally, while she was slapping me, dragged the stuff to the vehicle, while the verbal and physical barrage went on. I have a few little scratches from the swipes of her nails. One of them is on my face. She then tried to pull my hair. I have really long hair, as I was going up the stairs. I could have fallen backwards, but she didn't get a good grasp. I shouted at her, "If she doesn't stop, I will call the police. I don't care anymore. I will embarrass her by slandering her in my personal life any chance I get." I threatened to discuss her in articles. I've been published here and there for my art, like little spotlight interviews. I dialed 911 on my phone and showed her. She called me an insufferable bee, and also threw in tramp because somehow that's fitting. But she left me alone after that. I had a friend of my husband come and escort us to the airport. He is a stone-faced ex-SEAL, but totally nice guy, just my mum didn't know that, lol. He also drove me back. It helped a lot. When he showed up, things calmed down significantly because my mum behaved in a stranger's presence, smiling curtly and everything. I tried to give her a hug at the airport and she walked away making a vague threat about how her death will be on my conscience. We never hug unless it's for photos anyway, so maybe it was too much. So, she's gone. I have an extremely bad headache today from all the stress and tension that had built up. I'm not going to bother my husband. Clarification, I have kept him informed, just not detailed like my mum hurting me. I will tell him everything in person, because of his temperament and because he has a high-stress job. So I'm just staying strong, going to do self-care, self-soothing stuff today, and try not to feel sick or guilty. It's not even really guilt, it's hard to explain the feelings, I just feel awful. Thanks everyone from the bottom of my heart. I truly would not have been able to do this without the support and encouragement I received from you. I hope I can, without losing my innate compassion and warmth, continue to grow, mature, heal, and do the right things like standing up for myself, aka not being an a-hole to myself. I hope this is a good update. Wow, that mum sounds like an absolute battle axe. Yeah, even though Opie successfully did what needed to be done for her well-being, yeah, it'd be hard to feel good after something like that though, especially your own mother. It's just such a shame that people in the same family treat each other like that, and it happens regularly too. Anyway, give me your thoughts about that one down below. I found out my husband is obsessed with our boss's daughter, and I have no idea what I could do or how I should proceed. Throwaway account because I don't want people following my main to know about these, at least not yet. For some context, I, 29, and my husband, 34, work for a small RMG firm here. We were both recommended through a relative of mine. I've been working here for about 6 years, my husband for about 7 years. During the work time, our boss would occasionally bring his then teenage daughter to work. She should have been around 15-ish when we first met her, and had her interact with the employees and stuff to show her what we were doing, how things would work, etc. Fast forward to January of this year. The boss brought her in, officially letting us know that she'll be taking over a good deal of his work, overlooking things. We were initially hesitant considering she was so young, turned 20 this year, but ultimately she wasn't taking over, more so learning to handle the business while the boss managed other work, I suppose. It helped that she herself was also very keen on cooperating and taking advice, often holding meetings to discuss things and making sure she herself is the last to leave work almost every time. It's been an overall good development in that regard. The issue started initially a few months after she started. She would occasionally hold office events just to lighten the mood, and this earned her a lot of praise from all of us, since it's not something the old boss would have time to look into. We were all talking about her, so it didn't feel too weird at first when my husband joined in on the praising. How impressive it is, she's so young but so mature. How she's been a breath of fresh air in the office. Everyone's so motivated to work because of her, etc. With hindsight, it seems like that was just his in on talking about her with me in general. Every now and then, he'd start singing her praises when we're at home, a huge talking point always being how she's so mature for her age and understanding, even pointing out how we weren't at that age. I didn't take it much to heart, until one time I joked that it was fine if he was immature at times, and that I would love him regardless, and his response was something along the lines of, "Well, you were too, unlike her." I think that was the first time I felt a bit bad, because it felt like he was actually just comparing me to her now. But I tried not to think too much about it. This slowly spiraled too, going from talking about her maturity to looks, how she can still look good while being so busy with studies and work, how she, and I quote, was definitely more gifted compared to the other girls. And once, out of insecurity, I asked if he thought she was prettier than me. He gave me a, "Of course you're attractive to me, but objectively, like, not considering my attraction to you, she is prettier." This messed with me for a while, and we ended up having a fight, where I essentially banned him from bringing her up with me, if it's not work-related. Also adding to it was the fact that he started taking extra work every now and then, and working overtime, and while I initially thought it was just to earn extra money, I later found out it was simply because he knew she usually heads home late too, usually after most, if not all office employees left. Fast forward to a few days back, weekend happened. Husband was out with his friends, and my laptop was at the repairs, so I used his laptop, without his permission. We are relatively free with each other's devices, like we never have a reason to use each other's devices, but if for some reason we did, the other didn't mind, so I didn't think much of it. I put on some vids of autoplayer's background noise as I did some work, when I opened his PC folder, and on the left quick access bar, there was a folder with our boss's daughter's name. I had to click it, and when I did, I actively couldn't believe what I was seeing. A folder of over 1,000 pics of her, screenshots from Instagram and other apps, any and every pic he could find of her, and an insane number of pics, just taken without her consent, like with either a hidden camera or his phone at the office, ranging from her just sitting or working, to some from a high enough angle to get cleavage, or down blouse, and even a few under the table shots, though those didn't have anything to show from what I'd seen. This creeped me out, beyond anything, since it was almost impossible to place my husband, who I've always known as the sweetest guy for the 6 years we've been married, as someone who would do something like this. I was shocked, and just didn't really know how to react, if I should feel disgusted or sad or angry. I didn't know. But then it got worse. I used search to look up her name on his laptop and found something that basically turned any form of sorrow or sadness I would have felt into just pure disgust. He basically had a folder, poorly hidden deep in a number of folders, just full of Photoshop pics of her, some solo, some with him, some with other members of the office, and some just absolutely vile and disgusting. I deleted all traces of me having seen or searched for those, though I doubt it was necessary, since my husband isn't the most tech-savvy to begin with, took a pic of some of the crap I found, and left the laptop. I was furious, but I also didn't want him to know yet, so I acted normal that night, and the next day, I called up my cousin. She was pregnant and her husband was away, and asked if she needed help, and used that as an excuse to move in and help her for a bit. I've talked to my husband, though limited, mostly through texts and occasionally at work, but for the last 4 days I've been living with my cousin. Honestly, I'm disgusted, but I also don't know what to do exactly. Like, I feel a mixture of being cheated on, which I know he didn't do anything with her, but still I can't explain it. But on top of that, I feel disgusted that my husband was this sort of man, but even talking about it to my friends or family feels weird. I tried to share with my cousin, but the embarrassment didn't allow me to say anything. I just don't know what to do right now. I can't stay here forever. I'll have to head back sooner rather than later, but I also don't think I can just go back home and pretend that none of this happened, or I didn't see any of this. So I thought this was the best way to stay anonymous and ask for some form of advice. What should I do, and how should I progress? Let's look at the comments. Cheating is the least of your worries. He is a creepy stalker. Holy crap. Taking sneaky photos down her shirt and under the desk where she sits. Photoshopping images to look like he's with her. He is scary obsessed. Get back into his laptop and send copies of everything to yourself. Then leave for good. Tell him you have copies of everything. Tell him that he needs to quit and get away from her, or you will tell the boss. Hell, I'd tell anyway. Then he needs some serious therapy because he is effed up. What if he hurts her? This is so freaking creepy and scary, and I'm honestly worried for your boss's daughter's safety, and maybe your safety too. My gut reaction is to say don't go home, unless you want to gather more evidence, but get a divorce attorney, report him to your boss and the police. I feel like she needs a restraining order against him. I'm so sorry this happened. Are there any other red flag behaviours of his? It's good you're out of the house. I know it's a lot for you to deal with right now, but it's critical that you also consider this young woman's safety. This is not something you can keep secret. You must warn her. He's been taking secret pics and probably videos of her, upskirt shots and down her blouse. He has over 1,000 pics of her and spent hours photoshopping her into pics with him. That is obsession. He is fixated on her. You said you cannot believe he would ever have done this, so realistically you also cannot predict what he may do next. Her safety must come first. Schedule a meeting with her and the owner, her father, as soon as possible. Tell them it's an emergency and to please not mention it to anyone, including your husband. Show them the evidence you have. Personally, I'd swing by the house on the way and pick up his laptop. There's a good chance she may want to involve the police, as she'd be wise to do, and he may try to delete the evidence. Plus, you'll want them to understand the gravity of the situation, and you only have a couple of pics as proof. I'm so sorry this is happening to you. Sadly, it's bad enough and criminal enough that you don't have the option of dealing with it privately or keeping it a secret. She may not choose to pursue charges, but that decision should be hers. Edit to add, please consider this. He works late with her at the office. If something happens to her, will you be able to live with it? Don't let the consequences of his perverted obsession become your burden to carry for the rest of your life. Now for an update. So a lot happened in the course of the few hours. I honestly wanted to wait a few more days to cool off myself and then do whatever was needed, but some of the comments did have me worried. If he got an idea and deleted everything, if he did something harmful in the meantime, and as my friend pointed out, if he somehow, as unlikely as it might be, found the post and put 2 and 2 together. We ended up going over around 4 PM-ish, knowing we'd have a few hours to collect whatever. I made sure to copy everything on the 2 folders to a flash drive and took a video of it being from his laptop too, in case that was something needed. Then, as another comment suggested, we looked for my name, which came out with nothing but regular pics and stuff. After that, my friend asked me to look up the co-workers' names, and when I did, that hit some results, with 4 other co-workers' names, all women, but none to the same extent as the boss's daughter. Like, between the downloaded pics, creep shots and edited pics, all 4 of them combined didn't match hers. All the folders were hidden the same way, inside a few layers of new folders, like one folder inside another, etc., up to like 8 to 9 new folders. We took those too. Then my friend pointed out that some of those might be files he received, since the file names were different, and some were similar to WhatsApp files, as she pointed out. This is something I hadn't noticed, but the edited files were definitely named differently, some being daughter's name plus porn action, and then others just being something like image number and then WA0014 or something along those lines, which my friend said are pics he received in WhatsApp. We confirmed that they were indeed received from WhatsApp in the pic information. This ultimately made me do something that I shouldn't have done, since it could have blown up in my face, but it had made me anxious and I needed answers, so I asked my friends if they would stay till my husband gets back. They agreed, and I decided to take that time to pack my bags, just necessary things for now. My friends did say he's logged into Facebook, but didn't want to check his Facebook without me, and by the time they told me that, it was already time for him to come back, so we decided to not do anything. We waited and waited until he finally came back. He was surprised to see us, but didn't seem to suspect anything, and I told him to sit down. He did, and I think that's when he noticed his laptop on the couch and asked what was going on. I told him I saw some things related to the boss's daughter and that I wanted an explanation. He tried to get angry at first, but quickly dropped that act. I told him I wanted to hear what he had to say, and then decide what to do. He said he was fine talking, but only if my friends waited in the dining or another room, as he wanted to explain things to me alone. My friends were hesitant, but I told them it's fine, and that if they hear any issues, to send the drive link to the boss. This was a bluff that I wish I had thought about before he came, but I told him that I saved everything on a G drive and wouldn't hesitate sending it to the boss if he tried anything. He assured me he wouldn't act up and asked me what I wanted to know. At that point, I really wanted to hit him. Just the look on his face. He looked guilty, like He was looking for excuses but failing or something. I don't know. But I really hated it. But I stayed calm and told him about a lot of things, including all the pics of her, the edits, and a few other things. I asked him to explain. He kept asking me exactly what I wanted to know, and it was becoming obvious that he was either stalling for an excuse or trying to see how much I knew. I told him finally that I saw the pictures, the hidden cam pics, and even the edits. He pleaded with me to not get mad and hear him out, and I told him I'll consider it. He took a minute and told me that he'd noticed he was growing more and more attracted to her, sexually, and he apparently struggled with these emotions a lot, which is why he did that, and that he wanted to, quote, release his tension without harming anyone, which is why he made those and kept it to himself. I then asked to see his WhatsApp, and the colour on his face almost drained. He told me I knew he didn't use WhatsApp, but I told him I had checked his Google Play to see what apps he had installed. Another lie, but I was sure he was using WhatsApp, so I still went with it. After a bit, he handed me the phone and told me to not overreact. I took his phone and searched around for a bit. He has a lot of pointless apps downloaded, and it was hard to spot, especially since it wasn't even on the home screen, but on a folder file inside the slide screen thingy Android has, on the third page. I open it to find just one group chat with 3 other colleagues, members of the team he is in basically, and it was just filled with pics of this girl, creep shots taken from different areas, zoomed in for the most part, from today, like literally a few minutes before he handed me the phone. A lot of conversations in Bangla about fantasies on how they would have effed her. Scrolling up, it keeps getting worse and worse. I won't go into detail on the specifics, but a lot of it was about wanting to force themselves on her as a revenge on the boss kind of thing, but with her acting as the boss, and some were even full-on well-thought-out scenarios where they are playing out what they'd do and what not. If you ever read something and just faced pure whiplash, that was me at that moment, literally unable to process it properly. He kept apologising, telling me he loved me and that this was all just to keep himself in control, and that it was ultimately just harmless fantasising. I only caught bits and pieces of what he was saying, before just turning on the screen recorder and scrolling, recording the conversations, and the more I scrolled up, the more vile it got. The conversation did predate my husband joining, it seemed, but that didn't really matter. He was very actively taking part in it. I got a good chunk of it, but it didn't seem to end, so I simply went to the chat media, and even that was a huge scrolling down of pics, creepshots from phones, fakes, etc. I ended up getting as much as I could and sending it over to me, making sure it's saved on my phone. All the while he kept begging me to forgive him and not ruin his life and career. Sorry, and I quote, our life and careers. I told him I felt betrayed, and I told him I was disgusted at the man he was. And through his apologising, he kept insisting it didn't really hurt anyone. But I told him it hurt me, and if she found out, it would hurt her too. And he simply pleaded with me not to tell her. For a while we just cried, for different reasons I presume, but the entire time he kept switching between how he's sorry and he loves me, to how it's not as bad as I'm making it out to be, and how they were just messing around, online, and weren't hurting anyone. My friends checked in on me a few times, but didn't interfere. After a while I pulled myself up and told him that I don't see myself staying with him, and that I want a divorce. He pleaded with me not to do so, but I simply said that I didn't want to listen to his excuses. I then told him that I wanted to take the laptop, and he froze. I was half expecting him to reject me, but he simply begged me to not show this to the boss or the daughter. I told him I wasn't sure if I wanted to do that, which was a lie, and that I'm thinking it over. I told him not to delete the WhatsApp's conversations or tell the others, and that if he does, I will send everything to the boss. Ultimately, I want to talk to the daughter first, and then decide what to do and how to tell the father, but that will have to wait, I guess. There was a bit more pleading, and I simply left it on, I don't know what to do. I need to think it over and will let him know, and told him to not contact me in the meantime. And that was all we said as we left with his laptop. I do hope he doesn't alert his friends, but even if he did, it wouldn't matter, since the screen recording has their names and numbers on the group chat and a huge chunk of the stuff they said. The thing is, since nothing physical happened, I know the police won't take it seriously 90% of the times, with the only possible time they might take it seriously is if the girl herself took action. So I intend to give her all of what I have and let her proceed with whatever actions she chooses to take there. I do wish I had waited to talk to lawyers before taking things this far, but the fear and emotions had me wrapped up, and I just ended up taking action. It seems to have worked out, but I don't know. Husband seemed pretty defeated today, but considering how little it feels like I know him, I honestly can't tell with him anymore. I will see how things play out, and maybe do one final update. But from my understanding, things will probably just end with a divorce and him getting fired, Still, thank you all for the help, even just snapping me into action. When we were leaving, he was basically sobbing and begging for forgiveness, or claiming how it was all just a mistake and nothing actually happened, to the point where I almost did feel bad for him. Almost. But I don't think I can feel sympathy after those chats and whatnot. My friends luckily were also there to remind me that regardless of what he says, his actions are not for me to forgive. Right now I don't know what to feel. My mind's a bit of a mess and things are processing weirdly. Apologies in advance if some of this is incoherent or feels like there are blanks in between stuff. Trust me, there are blanks in my head too right now. A few things I did want to specify. On the post, some people took the "he's not tech savvy" bit as though he isn't good with tech at all, which isn't the case. I think of tech savvy as being great with tech, and that's what I meant. That he's not that great, but he's still decent. We work in RMG offices, a lot of our work is with Madaris, Photoshop and Illustrator, and he's decent with them. I just meant that in a sense that he's not the type to hide folders or passcode wall stuff, if that makes sense. Second is, hidden cam, was less talking about actual hidden cams, and more just the style of it. Most of these are taken via phone, and as we now found out, multiple phones from different people. Third, some people thought she was a minor. She isn't. She is 20 as of this year, but that still doesn't change the fact that he knew her when she was a minor, and that they started this when she was 19. Fourthly, I've been going back and forth with who to tell exactly, and while she is still young, she is strong, and as much as I had to say this after hearing it from my husband for so long, she is mature for her age. And as she's directly involved, I think it's only fair I tell her, and let her decide who she wants to share these with. I've made attempts to reach out, preferably outside work, and I'll let her decide how she wants to approach everything from her side. Fifth, I am worried about my job too. A bit, for a few reasons. Firstly, because me and my husband were both recommended by my relative, and now all of a sudden that changes to someone my relative recommended creeping on the boss's daughter. And secondly, because I will be technically the ex-wife of the guy who stalked her, to her and the boss, so that's something to worry about too. But regardless, I think it's still the right decision to make. Lastly, about the divorce. I am worried for it, for sure, but we don't necessarily have a joint fortune, and most of our finances are our own, with a very small fund saved up that we usually keep for trips and stuff. And I personally think I have enough proof on me too, but still I will get legal counselling within the next few days, preferably before things blow up in his face. I'm currently staying at a friend's for a few days while I look for a new flat. I wanted to move in with my parents for a bit, but my gut is telling me that's the last place I should go once the news breaks. Now for the final update. So I think this will be the only update. I saw a few people were asking for updates before too, but I honestly needed some time to myself and wanted to see how things played out before making one. So, as I said in the last edit and some of the comments, I ended up going to the boss's daughter, showed her everything I had, and told her I had the laptop too if she needed. I could tell it was a good bit for her to process initially, but she said she's used to stuff like this. Yeah, F this place honestly, and so composed herself. Afterwards, she asked if it would be fine for me to help her go through the screenshots and screen recordings and pictures, since she'd rather not have to go into checking the details herself, and I agreed. We sat at a local food chain and basically wrote out a detailed HR report. Like not a report to the HR, but a report from the HR, regarding that team. I went over the different aspects of the text caught on the screen recording and the edited pics as well as the creep shots of her. She reassured me that I won't be facing any consequences for this, and to leave talking to her father to her. She asked if I were to be called to the police station if I would be willing to go, and I said I would. She concluded that while in the other areas this could have been used to better punish them, high chances are that this won't do much, other than maybe a few days worth of jail, but that she would still be going to the police, as this will be a good way to make sure if they ever even considered doing something, this could be used to screw them over. As for their jobs, she said she would keep them for a few days while the filing and report work its way up, then fire them on the spot with no reference or experience certificate, basically rendering any attempts of showing work experience in this company impossible, and should they try, future hirers will be sent the HR report we built. We concluded the meeting there, with her telling me to not worry, and just not interact with them at work. After that, I spoke to a lawyer, showed him everything I had, and while he took a small bit, said that things can be done relatively easily. Thing is, it's not like me and my husband have that much joint property or wealth, that there would be much of a dirty breakup financially, but from the look of things, so far at least, things seem to be going in my favour. My husband did call a few times and texted to see if I would reconsider, but I blocked him more or less. Didn't want any part of his BS, honestly. This is the part where the crap storm I had mentioned started. Calls and messages from relatives, all with the purpose of letting me know that these things happen and that I shouldn't hold it against him. I talked to my mother and found out that what he told her and a few other relatives, including his parents, were, I got jealous because he accidentally showed interest in the boss's daughter but never planned to act on it. This caused almost everyone but his mother to side with him, while his mother called me to apologise, saying she was ashamed of what her son had said. I'd originally told my husband I wouldn't blow this out of proportion, but ended up telling my mother and his parents, the former who responded exactly as I thought she would. She told me it's not like he acted on it, and that this much is nothing to ruin a marriage over. This didn't surprise me, since when one of my aunts got cheated on, she and her other sister had essentially taken the stance of, just forgive it and ignore it, move on and don't bring it up, things will be happy. My mother and I had a huge back and forth where she brought up family reputation, embarrassment if family finds out what he did, embarrassment if I'm a divorcee in my 30s. Yeah, that's a thing here sadly, and yeah, 29 is still reaching 30s. We ended the call on pretty bad terms, but it was expected. The family itself is more or less on the same stance, with only some choosing to stay away, and even now when I ended up sharing the exact reason with a few members, they responded, let it go and fix the relationship, or something akin to that. The pleasant surprise came from telling his parents though, who took my side. After things blew up, his mother apologised to me, telling me she was ashamed of what her son did, while the father told me he'll make sure my husband won't be causing any issues for me, in the divorce or in general. I was honestly expecting them to take his side like my family, but this was a welcome surprise. Yesterday the team were called into the boss's office along with some police. I don't know what was said or done, but they were in there for a long time, and by the time they all left, they just looked defeated, especially my husband. It seems she did exactly what she said she'd do, and fired them. I don't know the specifics of it, I don't necessarily intend to ask either. As for me personally, it's been rough. It's easy to get angry when everything is happening. It's the moments when things are calm, that memories and feelings get the best of things. But I'll be fine, I get to keep my job, which is huge in my opinion. The whole thing with the family isn't getting much better, it seems. It got a bit worse after the firing. I have my stuff and I've moved in with a friend for a few days while I look for a smaller apartment. As for my husband, I don't exactly know, but I assume he'll be moving in with his parents, who are pretty annoyed with him. The apartment we stayed in was something we both contributed to live in, so without income I can't see him maintaining it at all. Honestly, this was probably it. I don't see myself making any more updates to this. It's been a mess, but still, I want to thank everyone for the love and support. It really helped a lot. I haven't really thought out the response too well. Might have missed parts of some stuff. If I did, I'll try to answer anything I can. But other than that, this might be it. Alrighty guys, yeah, and that's it from OP. Man, what an absolute mess. And how's the gall of the family to tell her she should just forgive and forget? I think it's pretty obvious they don't understand the weight of the situation. But ultimately, good to hear they got fired, and that the police got involved as well. You can only hope for a bit of justice. Anyway, what do you guys think? Let me know down below. My husband doesn't want to spend time with his family. I've gotten closer to one of our friends, and I'm now in love with him. Need help navigating this. Lost and in deep. I need help. I'm not sure this is the best place for this type of thing, but if there is a better place, please point me in the right direction. So me, female 31, and my husband, 32, have a 4-year-old daughter together. Same old story. Great in the beginning, the usual small arguments, and especially since having our daughter, he's way more distant. Would rather spend his time playing video games than spend time with me or our daughter. Oh, and if he's not playing games, he's on YouTube on his phone, watching people play games. We have a tight friend group that I married into, so to speak. 14 of us. Everyone at least went to high school with each other, some went to elementary. I'm the only outsider. Around 8 months ago, a couple from this group bought a house very close to ours. Naturally, our daughters have become closer friends and want to do a lot of things together, so she joined the same dance class as ours. This class is at 8 AM on Saturdays, so the dad takes her. Meet S, male 31. S and I have always gotten along. We met around 9 years ago when my husband and I got together. The first week at class we sat together for the hour in the waiting room. It's separate from the hall, so we can't actually watch. We usually just sit in awkward silence. S is quite a funny guy, so it flew by with his company. The next week, he's there and says he's going to get a coffee instead of sitting in that room. I'm welcome to join if I'm not busy. I agree and we get in his car. We end up stuck in traffic, so by the time we get there, there's not much time left to sit in and have it, so we get it to go and sat for 20 minutes in his car. That's fine. The next week, he says he's doing the same thing. I'm welcome to join. We go again, and this time, I don't know why, but I got very paranoid about it. I asked if we could just get it in the drive-thru and stay in the car again. He says sure, and we end up passing his phone between us, picking terrible songs from our childhood for the hour. It was actually quite fun. And every week for the past 8 months has went like this, and I've not told my husband about any of it. I lost my dad a few months ago, and my husband just didn't care. No compassion, no comforting, nothing. I couldn't believe the man I married was acting this way when I needed him the most. I couldn't even cry about him without him huffing and puffing. S turned to my outlet during this time, and I've cried in his arms several times. Through this, he asked how things were at home, and I was honest with him and told him I've never felt more alone than when I'm at home with my husband. He's been amazing putting up with me, and had suggested a marriage counsellor, which I brought to my husband, but he was having none of it. S has told me he feels differently about my husband. He had no idea he was like that, and has actually made a few comments towards him about it, but as usual, way above my husband's head. I've lost feelings for my husband, and probably did a long time ago, and have fallen for S hard. I feel wrecked with guilt, confused, hurt, sad, but all of that goes away when I see his face. I want to add here that in no way has S ever been inappropriate to me. He's never acted creepy, never said anything suggestible, never caught him staring, nothing at all that would suggest he has alternate motives. But I'm ashamed to admit, the only reason we haven't kissed or had sex is because he's never made a move. I'm scared because the way he makes me feel, I don't think I would say no or pull away. There's been a few times after seeing him when I get home that all I do is wish he did make a move, and that makes me a horrible frickin' person. This all sounds crazy for someone I spend an hour with every morning and the weekend, but it's spilled over to the other clubs our kids go to. I'll see him at nursery, I start matching our dog walking time some days so we'll see each other. If there's an excuse to see him, I'll find it and use it. I know this is bad and I need to do something about it, but when it comes to it, I never do anything because I don't want to. Then, hours after, I'm battling my head, telling myself I need to stop and I need to sort my marriage, whether that be working on it or separating. I want to tell S how I feel, but I don't want to look like a fool. I don't want to scare him. What if it blows up their marriage? What if our kids can't see each other? What happens to the friend group if this gets out? It's a frickin' mess. I don't know what to do because we'll still see each other a lot. My husband would never take our daughter to classes, so I'm stuck with that. I always do the nursery runs. How can I get over him if he's everywhere? On to the comments. I need to stop and I need to sort my marriage, whether that be working on it or separating. Exactly. Leave S out of it. He has a happy marriage and family. That's why you have this crush on him, because he represents what you wish you were getting from your husband. Time to stop daydreaming about an easy escape from all that, especially when, as you fortunately maintain enough self-awareness to realise it wouldn't be that easy in real life, and focus on dealing with the reality of the relationship you're in to figure out once and for all if it's time to move on. I read most of the comments and most of your replies. It sounds like you are hell-bent on wanting to talk to S and are secretly hoping that as you clear things up, something wonderful and magical, almost like a realization, happens between the two of you, and he realizes he wants to leave his family for you, and you would do the same and live happily ever after. You want this. You want S to be a part of this. You crave it so badly, and you just don't see it. You care so much about what he thinks, about what people will say, instead of focusing on your own marriage. It will end up badly for you. You will be alone, and the group will remain strong after the wave has passed. Tread carefully. Grass is greener where you water it. I suggest you stop watering other people's grass. Leave S alone. He hasn't made any signs that he's anything but in his own marriage. Stop walking your dog on the basis you'll bump into him. Stop manufacturing ways to see him. Stop using him as an emotional crutch because you aren't happy in your own marriage. I repeat, leave S alone. Your husband sucks for not comforting you when your father died. You need to have an honest conversation about how he's making you feel and how lonely he's making his own wife. If you both mutually want to work on it, then get therapy and be honest with each other. If you've really fallen out of love, then don't feel guilty for leaving if you've come to the end of the road. You deserve happiness, but not at the expense of S and his wife, who have nothing to do with the challenges in your own marriage. Yeah, some pretty strongly worded advice in the comments that I actually find myself agreeing with. Let's go to an update. Seeing as my last post got an overwhelming amount of attention, I thought I would post an update. I want to thank everyone who messaged me privately, all from very similar situations. Reading through your messages, it's crazy to me how many people seem to be married to the same person. It's given me the strength I needed to make this decision. Those that left not so nice messages, please think about how your words are going to impact someone. It's very easy to sit behind a computer or phone and type up the horrible things you have. I've had people sending me messages saying I should kill myself, that my baby should be taken from me, that I'm a tramp, that I shouldn't be allowed out in public. I don't deserve those messages. No one does. A lot of people posting here will be in a vulnerable state as it is. There's no need for it, and you're the one that comes off looking broken. I'll reiterate here for the people who didn't seem to understand. I've not slept with S. I've made no moves to do so. I haven't kissed S and have made no moves to do so. I said if he made a move, with my frame of mind, I think I'd be in trouble. I'm certain there will be other women here who know what I'm talking about regarding this. Anyway, yesterday I kept the same routine. Off out at a walk with the dogs at night, home and bed. Just before jumping into bed, S texted me asking if I used Reddit. My heart sank. I told him I did and asked why. He sent me a link to my post and said, "Did you post this?" I admitted it was me and waited for the ground to swallow me up. He replied with, "Wow," and a few minutes later texted me saying not to stress. He won't tell anyone. Take the night to myself and think things over and we will talk tomorrow, which is now today. He told me we were going to sort it out. Everything will be fine, but we need boundaries. I was a wreck last night, but after a few hours I calmed down. I didn't get much sleep. I read through all the messages I'd gotten, and reading them and looking at my husband passed out on the other side of the bed, I was seething with anger. I have no idea why. That spilled over to this morning, and I'm not even going to talk it through with him. We're done. I'm organising things while he's out so I can leave quickly if I need to. I'm sorting a place to stay today and contacting lawyers. I can feel the relief coming and nothing he says will stop me leaving. If he asks, I'll tell him there was someone who made me realise the life I have with him is not the life I want. I won't tell him who. He's been given countless chances to step up to the plate, and every time he fails me and our daughter for his own selfishness, he will never change. I haven't spoken to S yet today, and I don't really know how that side of things will pan out. I hope we can remain friends, but I totally understand if he wants to take a step back. I can't hold anything against him. And despite what people are telling me I want in my last post, I do not want to interfere in anyone's marriage. I may post another update, I may not. The last post was hard to keep on top of. I'm not sure exactly what day, but the conversation will be had before Friday. Thank you for the words of encouragement. I really needed it. Wow, okay, I can't wait to hear what happens. Let's go to the new update. The update above kept being filtered out and is now a week old. Seeing as I'm already posting this, I may as well tell you all of what has happened the past week. I feel much better. It feels like such a relief. Husband has been trying to contact me non-stop. Despite being told the only communication between us will be about our daughter, I'm not interested in hearing his bullcrap anymore. This has brought his true colours out and only solidified my choice. He has been struggling, and my second night out of the house I received a text from S to say my husband was currently at their house, in tears. Awkward. He's been leaning on them for support, and from what I hear, will do anything he can to get me back. Which is odd considering the multiple messages he's sent telling me that me and our daughter ruined his life and that he never wanted any of us. I have lots of great support from friends and family, much to his chagrin. Me and S have limited contact, though he still checks in to make sure I'm alright, and if me and my daughter need anything. We spoke and we both agree. I'm experiencing limerence. I reiterated that I'm not out to sleep with him and that I've been in a very fragile state of mind for God knows how long. It doesn't make it any easier when it comes to his wife. I feel horrible and fully accepted if neither of them want to remain friends. She hasn't been told yet, but will be when things have settled a bit. I already no longer feel like I'm in love with him. It's more like he showed me the light and made me realise that the way we were living wasn't normal or healthy and that I deserve better. My husband has his own issues, like we all do. But they don't fix themselves, and I can't waste my life away in the hopes that they do. I do hope he gets himself whatever help he needs, if not for him, for our daughter. She doesn't deserve to come second to video games and YouTube. Again, I want to thank everyone who chimed in with advice, and the ones who sent me their own similar stories, and I hope anyone reading these in a similar situation can take something away from my story. Don't settle and waste as many years as I did. Okie dokie, and that's the end of that one. Yeah, well, big lessons learned here for OP, I guess. Yeah, I like that realization from OP that it wasn't actually like a real crush. It was more just a realization of what she really needed. And like the comment said, he embodied that. Anyway, what do you guys think about that one? Let me know down below. Either way, let's jump to the next story. Okay, this next one was posted on the Am I the A-hole subreddit. It was written by user Crafty Appeal, and it's titled, Am I the A-hole for blasting Disney music? Hello, I, 16 female, have an older brother, 19, who's one of those prank YouTubers and TikTokers. He's been doing this kind of content since 2017, first on YouTube, then expanding to TikTok for short form around 2020. He's decently popular with children and makes some pretty good money from it. It's annoying for me and I hate it. As his little sister, I'm constantly having a camera shoved in my face, even when I'm busy. He's pranked me by pretending to delete my school projects off of my laptop, throwing out my homework, study material, and once fabricated a fake report card that he gave to my tech-illiterate parents, which got me grounded for a month even after I proved that my grades are good because they never go back on their punishments. He has also come to my work to surprise me and prank me, which has gotten me in trouble with my manager until they moved me to working in the back and not up front with customers because he'd come in so much. With my money, I recently bought a Bluetooth speaker, and whenever I see him with his stupid camera, I blast whatever Disney music I can. Let It Go, We Don't Talk About Bruno, anything I can because Disney is vicious with copyright and the footage is useless. He's tried talking to me before about it, usually on camera to work out our issue, which means me stopping so that he can go back to making money off pranking me. Basically, I'm apparently very popular with his audience. He's been slowly losing viewers and followers, which he is blaming me and my speaker for. My parents are taking his side, as he's providing for us and he's the golden child. So Reddit, am I the a-hole? That's actually a pretty genius way to get someone to stop filming you. Surely any normal person would take this as a sign to, leave that person alone. But then again, he's a prankster YouTuber, and they are not normal people, I think we can all agree. Let's go to some comments. Not the a-hole. He is harassing you against your consent. If he can't make views without harassing you, then he's really not making the money himself, is he? You have a massively dysfunctional family if your 19-year-old brother's TikToks are providing for your family. Your parents suck, and your brother sucks. As soon as you're 18, find a way to move out and be on your own. Opie then answers some questions. Does he pay you? What do you mean he provides? Opie says, my parents do still work, but he bought our house and he does pay for the mortgage while they cover bills and groceries. I do pay my own phone bill because of my job, but that's all. He does still get views from his videos, but without me they're not as high as they would be if I was in it. He's still making money from those videos. When it comes to pranks, he doesn't believe in boundaries or faking, telling me about what he did beforehand because he likes getting my genuine reaction to whatever he's done. Him not faking his prank is one of the reasons people like his content, unfortunately. My payment is living in the house he bought, and his viewers got tired of him pranking our parents in 2018, and they did tell him if he didn't stop, they'd kick him out. So they're off limits, but not me, because better me than them. The house was bought in 2020. Before then we lived in a small apartment where he would prank them. My mum in particular got really annoyed with his pranks and told him either he stop or he find somewhere else to live. One comment says, how about starting your own channel? Opie replies, I want to go to college. I haven't had social media for several years. Once creepy fans tried to follow my Instagram account after he got popular. I scrubbed everything. I have no interest in YouTube, Instagram, or any other social media career. He has a young audience for the most part, but there are still uncomfortable comments from 12-year-olds and comments from older men. Other than that, his viewers like me because of my reactions. I tend to have pretty big ones, so they like that they're big and genuine, unlike other channels that stage pranks. It's mostly they like my reactions. There aren't that many gross comments, just enough in the past few years to make me uncomfortable. One commenter says, can you show the comments to your parents? Opie replies, they're incredibly tech illiterate and not good with English. He got me grounded for a month showing them a paper report card he photoshopped and printed out. They don't watch the videos at all or look at the comments. Definitely move out at 18. I am. I have my job so I can save money, and I have some friends who also want to move out at 18, and we plan to find an apartment to live in together. My parents are trying their best. They're immigrants, and me and my brother are first generation. Before his channel, our family struggled a lot, so they see his pranks as something to endure so that we don't return to how we were before. My brother sucks. My parents are doing their best, even if it's misguided. One person asks, "How long has this been happening, and can you try being boring?" OP says, "When I was 11 to 12, I did like being in videos quite a lot, until it got too much and the pranks got crueler, and since I used to love being in videos, my opinion now doesn't matter apparently. Before the blasting Disney, I tried to be boring. He just went to more extreme measures to get a reaction out of me. As for staying out of the house as often as I can, I do, but he still tries to record me whenever he can, and it gives him time to set up his pranks. Once he covered my whole room in post-it notes and hid a camera to film my reaction and the cleanup." Someone says, "Water gun?" I would love to, but he doesn't post anything that makes him look bad or otherwise hurts his ego. In the beginning, yes, but then he decided that actually me pranking him wasn't as fun, so he'd never post my pranks, so I gave up on pranking him after a while because I realized it was all pointless. Okay, on to an update. I didn't expect my post to blow up like it did, but I thought that everyone would want to know. I'm now safe. First, those who thought my brother would try and destroy my speaker were right. He destroyed multiple, but I kept buying more, as they were cheap, and I have a lot of money saved up for when I eventually move out. I also told my best friend's mum everything. Before all this, she knew that my brother made content online, which is why I always go to my friend's house, and not the other way around. I practically live there anyway, so she very quickly agreed that I can stay until I turn 18. While packing my stuff, I started participating in pranks again to keep my brother and parents happy so they wouldn't be suspicious. I kept telling my brother about an epic prank I was planning, and a few clips of me talking about it were in videos, and fans got really hyped for it. The prank was me taking the last of the stuff that was still in my room and using a lot of printer paper and tape to write notes all over my walls, bed, desk, everywhere that said things along the lines of, "Have fun without me, I'm not coming back, I hate your pranks," and other comments. I doubt he'll post the video, but I like to imagine he'd turn purple seeing it all. I'm currently at my best friend's house and we're working things out legally so that I can stay without my parents claiming I was kidnapped or anything. I'm also considering getting a restraining order against my brother, and I'm looking for a new job, hopefully with better pay so he can't try to see me while I'm at work. I still won't be making any social media or exposing my brother. He can lose his fans on his own without my help, and I can stay anonymous and out of the public eye. Thank you everyone who gave me advice. I really appreciate it. Whoa, Opie's out of there. Let's go to the final update. I didn't know if there was a subreddit that I could post this on, so I'm just posting it to my account. First, before anyone asks, I still don't have any interest in content creation and won't be making any videos on my family. I'm safe. I got emancipated and I'm no longer living with my friend. I have an apartment with one of my friends that I was originally planning to move out with when I turned 18. The apartment's tiny and not great, but we're managing. The rent's cheap and that's what matters. My brother, parents and extended family are finally leaving me alone fully. They kept trying to convince me to go back and rejoin the channel, promising not to do more pranks and all kinds of other things. I threatened to make an expose video which finally got them to leave me alone. I've had to change my appearance somewhat, a new haircut and a dye job, because people would sometimes recognize me, but that's it. Nothing else has happened. I have a new job and I'm on track to go to college and living a perfectly normal life without a camera in my face or a Bluetooth speaker constantly on and blasting Disney music. Alright guys, and that's the end of that one. Yeah, pretty good ending for OP here. Sounds like she got the life she wanted. Yeah, honestly, that lifestyle that the brother is putting her through would be absolutely unbearable for me. What about you guys? Would you be able to deal with living with a content creator like that? Maybe a certain type of content creator would be alright, but honestly, pranksters like that are the bottom rung for me. I, 24 female, found out that my husband, 35, made a disgusting bet with his friends when he met me, and now I can't see him the same way. He is friends with my stepbrother, 36, since they were in college, and to be honest, they were always respectful to me and I never knew they were bad enough to do what they did to me. I thought they respected me for being their friend's younger sister, but I was wrong. To put you in context, their group of friends dissolved when they grew up and followed different paths, and a few days ago they decided to meet again. Well, that meeting was held at my house, And at one point during dinner, one of his friends started saying things like he, my husband, was very lucky that our thing worked out. And when he said that, some laughed, and my stepbrother and my husband got very nervous, so I asked what he was talking about. And when my husband tried to shut him up, I knew something was wrong, so I asked the same thing again. He told me that when my stepbrother introduced us, he told them that I was really arrogant and a loser, and that I needed someone to, quote, teach me a lesson. And I admit I was very arrogant. I used to be annoying because I thought that no one was smarter than me and that they were all idiots. Well, they, except my stepbrother, decided to bet to see who would get to sleep with me first. Evidently it was my husband, and we've been together ever since. This happened 6 years ago. And I would feel less hurt if he had always been an a-hole, because it would have been my fault for falling in love with someone like that. But he was always so sweet and cute to me since we started talking, that I would never have thought that he was making fun of me behind my back. When his friend said that, everyone shut up because my face said it all. I got so ticked off that I just laughed and went to our room. My husband followed me and began to swear to me that he is no longer like that he loves me and that he regrets what an a-hole he was before he met me. And even though we talked a lot and I tried to forgive him, I can't look at him the same way. This morning he went with me to my appointment with the doctor because I'm pregnant, and when he cried when he saw our baby, I was disgusted because I don't know if he's being sincere or not. I don't know when I'll trust him again, but I want to do it, but I can't. Does that even make sense? Could things go back to the way they were before this mess? Holy age gap, I can't not see that anymore. And yeah, it's probably going to be hard to go back to normal after that. Let's go to the comments. A bunch of 29-year-olds make a bet to have sex with and humiliate an 18-year-old in order to put her in her place. That is extremely disgusting. They're a bunch of predators. Your stepbrother included, for being friends with these kinds of people. I hate to be the one to say it, but I find it super weird that a bunch of 29-year-olds would make a bet about sleeping with an 18-year-old and teach her a lesson? Super weird. That's extremely immature and disgusting behavior for very full adults. How dare they call you the one who needed to be taught a lesson? If anything, they needed to be taught a lesson. Your stepbrother is pretty vile too for not stopping that bet. So, once the 29-year-old man slept with you, the 18-year-old, as part of a bet, he also then helped you become not so annoying? Quote, and I admit I was very arrogant. Girl, he effed you for a bet, and then it sounds like he helped change your personality too, because he was grooming you to be a good little wifey. Even now you still want to trust him. You can't, nor should you ever trust him again. He lied to you for 6 years. Opie then makes another post in the Am I the A-hole subreddit. It's titled, Am I the a-hole for forcing my husband to celebrate his birthday only with me because I don't like his family? A few weeks ago, I found out about a horrible bet that he made with his friends about me before we started dating, and it was not easy to forgive him, so I told him that I would forgive him if he didn't invite his family. That's why I say I forced him in the title. The thing is, my husband comes from a family that really doesn't know what boundaries are. Ever since they found out I'm pregnant, they tell me what to eat, what to wear, how to act, etc., and I can't stand them anymore. I tried 1,000 times to like them, but I can't. They're really overwhelming. I'm about to give birth and I just want peace, and I know that with them, that is impossible, so I asked my husband to go to a restaurant to celebrate his birthday because I wanted to be at peace at home. He refused because he said he wanted to stay with me, so I told him not to invite his family then because they get on my nerves. And at first he didn't like the idea so much because he never celebrated the birthday party without his family, but then he accepted. So he celebrated just the two of us at our house, and of course his family got mad at us, especially me because they know it was me who didn't want them to come. But I don't regret the decision I made because it's the first time in 6 years that I've dared to face them and tell them not to do something I don't like. So, am I the a-hole? Now for some comments. Not the a-hole. But I'm sad your youth was stolen. You've been with him since you were 18 and he was 30? You're right at the stage where your frontal lobe is nearly fully developed, so if you get the urge to divorce him, don't ignore it. You're not the a-hole by saying you're not spending time with this toxic family and he made the choice to stay with you, but he was 30 when he went after an 18-year-old, and now you're saying there was a sick bet with his friends involved? This man is waving some very big red flags. I stand by my rating. I have real concerns for OP over this situation. At the very least, she needs individual counselling, marriage counselling too at best. There's layers of wrong here. Yeah, the Reddit commenters seem to be really fixated on the age gap here, but, I think there's a good reason for that. Let's go to an update from the first post. On my first post, I got a lot of nice comments and even messages, so I thought it would be a good idea to post an update. After I found out about the bet, we had so many fights that we thought it was the end of our marriage and decided to start couples therapy, hoping for the best, and thanks to that we were able to move on. He apologised many times and we had many long talks on this matter, but today I can say that everything is in the past. Today we have a beautiful 7-month-old baby girl, and I'm 5 months pregnant, and to be honest, I've never been happier. Of course there are days where I think about what he did, but then I think about the present and what he is today, and I forget about everything because the truth is that he is another person now. Well, he was never really mean to me because from the moment we started talking, he was always caring and sweet. Only now I know that everything is genuine and he's not faking it. Although, according to him, he never faked anything because he liked me a lot when he knew me intimately. I still don't think our marriage is perfect because from time to time we have fights, but for that reason we are still working on our relationship. Because we love each other and we want this to work and we want to grow old together. So that's all, there isn't much more to say. Thank you for your kind comments and messages. Okay, now straight to the last update for this story so far. My relationship with my stepbrother at first was really bad. We couldn't even stand each other, which led him to make a bet with his friends to teach me a lesson 6 years ago. That disgusting bet was that one of them had to manage to sleep with me to, as I said before, teach me a lesson after leaving me. Long story short, my husband was the one who won, and we've been together ever since. And I wish I could say that I always knew about that bet and was dumb enough to decide to marry him, but no. I found out about that bet almost a year ago, and it shattered my world. Thanks to that, I had to go to individual and couples therapy for months because it was difficult for me to forgive my husband, but we both worked for our marriage and our child, and today I can say that we are really happy, but I can't say the same for my stepbrother. When I found out about the bet, my husband apologised in 1,000 ways and has spent the last few months showing me that he really loves me and never faked anything in our relationship. According to him, since we started talking, he liked me and everything was genuine. But my stepbrother never apologised because according to him, I should thank him because thanks to him I stopped being so annoying and I found the love of my life and the father of my children. And I thought he was joking, but he really meant it, and we had a horrible fight about it, and since he didn't give in, we haven't talked again. He only contacted me a few days ago because it was my 25th birthday. He called me and I didn't pick up the phone, so he left me a voicemail saying that he misses me and that he's very sorry, that he now understood that what he did a few years ago was disgusting and that it should not have happened, that he knows that I'm pregnant and that it hurts him to know that he's not going to meet this baby either, that he wants me to be his little sister again, and a lot of other things. And honestly, hearing it after so long broke my heart because I really miss him. After I started dating my husband, our relationship improved a lot, and we have come to consider ourselves family, and I was used to counting on him for everything, and now I miss him so much. I want to forgive him and give him another chance, but I don't know. I've asked my friends, my husband, and my family for advice, and they all told me that it is the decision that only I should make. But I'm so confused. Would it be very stupid to forgive him? Am I wrong for that? Okay, and that's the last update so far. Ends on a bit of a cliffhanger there, unfortunately, but yeah, I mean, there's a lot of layers to this story, and I don't think any of them paint a really good picture for OP here. What do you guys think about this one? Let me know down below. Otherwise, let's move on to our next story. Okay, this next one's from the True Off My Chest subreddit. It was written by a user whose name I'm not even going to try to pronounce, and it's titled, I'm finding out my girlfriend of 1 year is deaf as I'm on the bus on my way to see her for the first time. Holy crap, I'm trembling. Still 6 hours until I make it. I need to let it out somewhere. I, female 20, met her, female 21, in a match of League of Legends 2 years ago. We talked a lot, became really close, and basically started dating 1 year ago. We send each other pictures all the time and videos as well, so I never understood her apprehension to FaceTime me. We tell each other everything. I mean everything. She's presented me her parents and I know all her family. Today I was going to surprise her by visiting for the first time. I talked with her sister to make sure it was okay. Less than 30 minutes ago, I get a text from her, and I'm copy-pasting a translated version. Hey love, you are so sweet and beautiful, and you deserve so much better. I know you're coming because S told me. I'm sorry to ruin your surprise, it's just I'd hate to see your face when you find out. I know we promised to always be truthful, but I've been lying to you all this time. That was her first paragraph, and I was crapping myself because I thought she was breaking up with me, but then she continued. You were too caring to ask why I never speak, why I never sent you a voice note. You were just too perfect, and there's no way you'd be with me if you knew. The reason is very simple. I was born deaf. I'm sorry you have to find out this way. I'm just a coward for not telling you sooner. I'll understand if you don't want to be with me anymore. Holy frick, I was expecting something totally different, and now I'm scared because I've never interacted with a deaf person, and I want to make sure she gets that I love her either way. I'm still in disbelief that she thought it'd be a deal breaker for me. La Concha de la Lora, I'm scared and needed to let it all out. Sorry for the long text. Let's go to the comments. No, you sound like a good person. Please, I need an update about you guys. Tell her she can probably read lips or use your phone. Maybe over time learn sign language? Hey, don't worry about this. If you two connect, you connect. You can communicate with text and eventually learn sign language. It can be cool. Sure, there will be some challenges and stuff, but if you two connect, you can make it work. If you really like her, don't let this stress you. Ask her if she'll be able to read your lips or if she prefers text and how you can make her more comfortable. Be honest that you've never interacted with a deaf person face to face and you're afraid you'll make a mistake. Update us how it goes. Alright, onto an update. Holy crap, that's how I would describe my whole experience. I'm back in my house now and I'm still processing everything that happened. I texted her I was outside and my hands were shaking. I had no idea what to do. I asked her if she can lip read and she said very little. When she opened the door, her eyes were already wet, and when she saw me, she broke down crying, and I started crying as well. I stopped thinking and just hugged her. I started speaking soothing words until I realized it was useless. After we both calmed down, we went to her room and started typing in our cell phones to talk to each other. At the beginning it was kinda awkward, but after a while it was pretty chill. We cuddled a lot, watched a lot of movies, and kissed a lot. It was a really beautiful day. There were some F-ups from my side. Out of the blue I'd start speaking to her until I saw her confused face. I called her by her name when I was searching from her and tried to show her funny TikToks. The funny part being the audio. Yeah, I'm stupid, I know. But overall, it was an amazing day. She's more perfect than I could ever imagine. Thank you for all the words of support in the other post. I appreciate you guys. Edit. Thanks so much for the kind words. When I posted it, I never expected to get so many comments. I'm grateful for all your suggestions and tips, but maybe it's important to mention that we speak Spanish, and as far as I understand ASL, it's not the same in Spanish, so I have a lot of work to do. Have a great night. Oh yeah, I've never really thought of that. Do sign languages vary depending on the country you're in? Maybe someone who knows can tell me in the comments. Anyway, on to another update. I know nobody cares, but I still need to vent. It's been almost 3 weeks since we saw in real life. She stayed last weekend at my place and we had a great time. But every time I wanted to say something and couldn't and had to type it, I felt frustration and anger. Because just now it's hitting me that she could have told me, just like you all said, and I'd already know at least a little bit of sign. It angers me because she knows how I am. She knows me better than anyone and she still thought I wouldn't love her. I know it's more of a me issue, but I still can't help feeling sad. I don't want this to ruin our relationship, and I know I have to talk to her, but I guess I'm not ready yet. Thanks for your kind words of encouragement and support. I appreciate them. I read all your comments, but there are too many and I'd be all day long replying. For those of you that said it was never real because we never saw each other are wrong. I never said we didn't send each other pictures or photos. She sends me a lot of videos of her doing stuff, but just never speaking. I did the same, but I spoke a lot in my videos because I didn't know. So yeah, call our relationship fake all you want. Only we know what we have. One commenter says, "You had a lot of responses pointing out where she came from, and that's okay, but your anger is valid in every sense. You do not need to pursue the relationship further if you don't want. I know you did say something otherwise, but just saying. But you should definitely have a talk about honesty and a relationship as a trustful environment. It is extremely important. Opie replies, "Hey, thanks for the kind comment. I do not want to leave her. I really love her. I know we have to talk, but I don't want my current feelings to make me say things I'll regret." Another commenter gives Opie advice on perhaps what she can say to her. "Hey, so I discovered I'm upset you kept this from me and a little insulted. I don't want to break up, or maybe you do, I don't know, but I do want to address this. I've told you so much about me. You know me better than basically everyone in my life, but you didn't tell me. It feels like you lied to me for months. I'm having trouble with those feelings. It wouldn't have been a deal breaker for me. I know you probably have had issues with this before, so I'm trying not to be judgmental. I know you didn't do this to be mean, but it still hurts. If I'd known, I could have started to learn sign language already so we could talk in person rather than through our phones in text. I'm upset I didn't get the choice to continue. I still like you, but this is where I am." And then discuss where you both go from here. Opie replies, "Wow, thank you so much. You expressed how I feel better than I could ever put into words. It's not really my strong suit. I'll use it as a guide. Thank you so much." Okay, and now onto the final update. "Hey guys, this is my last post because I'm ready to move on, and you helped me a lot, so you deserve to know how it all went. We talked. I wrote what I was feeling and thinking, using a comment as inspiration from an amazing Redditor. Thank you, stranger. She completely understood what I felt and where it came from. She apologized profusely. She's already done that a couple of times, and told me it was okay if I broke up with her. We talked hours about honesty and communication, and we both put our cards on the table. At the end, I told her I still love her, and she told me the same. We cried, laughed, and hugged a lot. It was tough for moments, but I think the worst part is already over. I'm already looking for sign language classes, and I know the alphabet. I'm sure this whole thing has helped to strengthen our relationship. Thank you to all that commented and gave advice. I appreciate it. Have a great day." Okay guys, and that's the end of that one. A nice wholesome post to break up the trend of madness that usually is Reddit. I feel like I haven't had one like this in a while. Anyway, I'd love to hear your thoughts about this one. Okay, next. Okay, we're on the Am I the A-hole subreddit again. This one was written by user Firefly, and it's titled, "Am I the a-hole for telling my pregnant friend that her kid was going to get bullied for the name she plans on using? One of my friends found out she was pregnant a few months ago, and she's really excited to be a mother. I'm happy for her and think she'd make a good mum, but there's one problem. She wants her baby's name to be unique and special, but the way she's going about it is terrible. What I mean is, the name she plans on using is god-awful. If it's a boy, she's going to name him Danger. Yes, spelled like that to be unique. And if it's a girl, she's going to name her Tinkerbell. I wish I was joking. I asked her if she was 100% sure, and suggested if she was dead set on those names to make them the kid's middle name. When she asked why, I told her flat out that the child would get bullied if she named them that. I know just how crappy kids can be. I got bullied for my name, and changed it when I was 19. She got really upset and told me I was being unsupportive and I was a crappy friend. She's been ignoring my texts ever since, and it's been more than a week. I'm starting to feel kinda guilty over what I said. Am I the a-hole?" I mean, they are pretty dreadful, let's be honest. And I'd say the prediction on the bullying would be pretty accurate. Let's go to the comments. "Danger, danger, high voltage, when we touch, when we kiss." Sorry for anyone who doesn't get the reference, but that was my immediate thought when I read this. Not the a-hole. Stop calling kids stupid names. Not the a-hole. The kid will be bullied. They'll be forced to work minimum wage fast food jobs because nobody in the corporate world would ever accept Danger's or Tinkerbell's resume. And what if they wanted to run for office? A baby's name should work for them from birth to school to career to retirement. She's only thinking of how cute a baby Danger or Tinkerbell would be, and not thinking of how much her tween will hate her for that name. Not the a-hole. She needs a reality check. She's naming adults here. Those names won't set her kids up for their best shot at life, and she needs to accept that. Yeah, hard to disagree there. Let's go to the update. We had a conversation over call. I decided to tell her about my experience getting bullied for years because of my name, Shaylee, called Gailey, and it turns out she's been going through a lot. Birth complications run in her family, and she's been really stressed out about it, along with finding out that her boyfriend, now ex of 3 years, has been exchanging dirty texts with a co-worker of his. I had no idea about this, and she expressed regret for taking out her feelings on me. I carefully brought up some of your points and suggested using the name Belle for a girl, with Tinkerbell as a nickname. She thinks it's cute and liked the idea. I also mentioned maybe using Dane as a first name, with Danger as a nickname, which she wasn't quite as happy about. She did decide to use Danger, still spelled like that, as a middle name, which isn't nearly as bad as using it as a first name. On the bright side, the kid can tell people, Danger is my middle name. Thank you for all your advice, everyone. I really appreciate your help and suggestions. Yeah, okay, that's the end of that one. Yeah, good compromise there, I think. Belle is a beautiful name, and Danger, yeah, while I wouldn't personally name my kid that in any part of his name, I guess if it was going to be anywhere, the middle name would be the best. Anyway, let me know what you think about that story. My husband will only eat kiddie food, and it's ruining our relationship. My husband will only eat chicken nuggets, grilled cheese, and SpaghettiOs. That's it. When we go over to a friend's place, he'll actually bring some SpaghettiOs to heat up in their microwave instead of eating anything else, even if our friends cooked a wonderful meal. If we go out somewhere to eat, he will only order chicken nuggets off the kids' menu. If they don't have them, he just won't eat. If I try to cook literally anything except one of his 3 food groups, he will claim he's allergic to some random ingredient instead of just outright saying he doesn't want to eat it. He'll then try to guilt me for forgetting his allergy. Spoiler, we've been to a doctor and he's not allergic to anything. My husband just turned 36 this month. His food habits were sort of cute and acceptable when we were both in college and eating like trash, but now I'm genuinely worried about his health. I also find myself avoiding any sorts of dining situations with their friends, which is so much harder than it sounds. I've tried talking to him about his eating habits and he just brushes me off. Since I don't cook his meals, the only victory I've had in this situation, he doesn't think I've had the right to dictate what he can and can't eat. I'm not his mother, I'm his wife, but I just want my husband, the man I love, to be healthy. What do I do? Edit. We met when I was 19, in my sophomore year of college. We got married after graduation and moved in together shortly after. I didn't realize how strict his diet was until after we married. Geez, I just don't understand how people get married to other people and don't know things like this about them. Let's look at some comments. Sounds like he should probably see a therapist of some sort, to be honest. Based on this post and his attitude about it, it may be hard to convince him to do, but seeing as he gets really defensive about it, it does kind of seem like he may have some food aversion issues. Perhaps not. I'm not a doctor, but it would be something worth exploring in my opinion. Being a picky eater is one thing, but to only eat 3 things is pretty extreme. I knew a couple like this. They stayed together until the kids moved out, and then they separated. He would only eat sausages, pizza, potatoes, and pasta, and he passed on his weird eating habits to one of his children, who is far more strict about her eating than he is, and basically gave herself Crohn's disease. The wife is a fabulous cook, but he would always make a different meal for himself. He doesn't go to restaurants that aren't Italian, or just in general low quality. He doesn't get out much, he gets irritable at dinner tables. He's got a weird relationship with food. He's absolutely set in his ways. There's no changing him. So he doesn't get invited out often, and he's divorced and living alone with a cat. I suppose you could try to bring up that you're worried about his health, but it sounds like it's going to be hugely difficult to change him if he's not wanting to change himself. Unhealthy food relationships are really difficult to deal with from an outsider perspective. Maybe get yourself some therapy to help you deal with it. He's also over a decade older than you, and your life is too short to be trying to run around after a guy, trying to fight him to change his ways so he doesn't give himself diabetes or something equally awful, get obese and basically die early. There's got to be an ultimatum somewhere here. There's an eating disorder called ARFID, Avoidant Restrictive Food Intake Disorder, that is basically picky eating in adults. I have it, I've always had it. My mum said even as a baby I wouldn't eat baby food, I would just eat smushed bananas or potatoes. It's all about texture for me, and smell. What might look and smell amazing to someone else could look and smell like vomit to me. Hamburgers smell like BO, and a juicy bloody steak is nauseating to me. Your husband might have the same disorder. I think someone else posted a link to an article about ARFID in the comments, so I would really recommend researching it and seeing if your husband fits it at all. Ask him if it has to do with texture or smell, or maybe overwhelming taste. I prefer bland food so I can control how much seasoning I add, so it's not too much for me. It's been so embarrassing my entire life dealing with it, and I didn't have a name for it until a couple of years ago, which made me feel so better to know I wasn't alone, so your husband might feel the same. I know personally I get a ton of anxiety when I have to plan meals with friends or family, so him bringing a can of SpaghettiOs might help him feel more control over the situation. I hope this was a little helpful. I kinda went all over the place and made this so long, lol. Good luck. I hope you're able to find a solution that makes both of you happy. Okay, Opie makes an edit and adds a couple comments. Thank you for your comments and suggestions. There are so many wonderful comments that it'd take me all day to make it through, so I'll try to address them here and then post an update tonight. It does sound like ARFID, and I agree that we need cancelling. There's a good cancelling centre nearby that I found last night that offers couples therapy. I want to try them first. I'm going to bring it up to him tonight and really try to explain how much this issue bothers me and how at the very least we should discuss this with a counsellor to find a place where we're both happy. Now Opie comments when asked about the age difference and when they started dating. We started dating when I was 19 and he was 32. Looking back, I definitely wasn't mature enough for a serious relationship, but he's always been thoughtful and understanding. I never felt pressured to do anything I didn't want to do, and although the age difference was obviously noticeable, it never felt like I was being taken advantage of. I'm sorry if my answer sounds canned. I've gotten your exact question more times than I can count. We met in college. He went back to get his degree after realizing his career was stagnant. We had a class together and ended up falling in love. Admittedly, I was kind of awed that an older man was interested in me, but he never ever made me feel pressured into anything, even as small as drinking on my 21st birthday. I have a history of severe alcoholism in my family. We ended up going to a nice dance night instead of clubbing. He also completely stopped drinking without any prompting when he realized that I wasn't comfortable being around him when he was drunk. Rightio, let's go to an update. So, I did it. I confronted him when he came home. I brought up ARFID, which he seemed very open to. He seemed sort of relieved that it's a fairly common disorder. Some of you absolutely called it. He explained that he was extremely embarrassed and defensive when I tried bringing the issue up with him before. When I explained how much it hurt when he shut me down, he seemed genuinely surprised. He had no idea this issue was so important to me. I'll admit I did cry a bit as I told him how worried I am about him eating himself into an early grave. His foods are not healthy, and by the end of our conversation we both agreed to work together to overcome this. We'll be going to couples therapy this weekend at a local clinic. From there we'll look into seeing a dietitian and a specialised counsellor for his eating disorder. However, I called his mother while he was at work. I asked her about his eating habits as a kid, if there was any foods he sort of liked or anything he was really adverse to. I like the idea of making weekly meal prep together so there's no surprises and we can collaborate on slowly introducing new foods. I was hoping this conversation would give me a good starting point when I talked with him. His mother is a very sweet woman and told me all the foods he even sort of would eat and everything he refused to, but she offhand mentioned that he has sensory processing issues due to his autism. I asked her to elaborate and she did. It turns out he was diagnosed with autism as a kid. He even went to an after-school physical therapist for many years to deal with sensory issues. He never told me any of this. When I spoke with him, I didn't know how to bring it up, so I just didn't. I'm so worried he'll deny it, or he'll get angry with me for speaking to his mother behind his back, since he obviously doesn't want me to know. I want to stress that I never brought up autism with his mother. She mentioned it all on her own. I feel lied to and manipulated. I don't know how to bring it up with him because right now I'm just starting to process it. I'm angry that he never told me. His food issues are one thing, but not telling me about his autism and seemingly intentionally keeping it from me, as he didn't bother to mention it today either, is another. It's more and more obvious that the man I married isn't who I think he is and has been lying to me for years. Right now I'm telling myself to wait until cancelling this weekend before confronting him. I don't want our conversation to be out of anger, But I also don't know how I could ever trust him again if he was so willing to keep such a big secret from me. Edit. I will be bringing this up in cancelling, but I'm not going to discuss it with him until then, as I don't want to let my anger and hurt override my desire to help him. As some people stated, it's possible he doesn't know about his autism. I really hope that is the case. I'm hurt not because he has autism. I really couldn't care less. It doesn't change who he is as a person, but rather that he never told me about it. Alrighty, let's find out. Well, it's been a lot longer than the 1 week update I promised. I could make excuses, but I won't. For those of you who don't want to read my original post, I asked for help with my husband's food preference issues, and through talking with many people on here, and ultimately his mother, it was revealed that he was diagnosed with autism as a child. Some of the comments on my original post were not so kind. I got a lot of accusations that still hurt me. Some just to make me angry, particularly the person who commented simply, "Please don't bully him. He's my goddamn husband, not a schoolyard friend, not a sibling, not a child. Infantilizing him doesn't help his case at all." Moving on. I was very upset as he had never mentioned anything to me. We've discussed all sorts of medical issues together, but his diagnosis never came up. I want to stress this. This isn't a matter of me not wanting to be married to an autistic man. This is a matter of my husband keeping something important from me and causing me a great deal of stress that could have been avoided if I was aware of his diagnosis. For example, I continuously pushed him to try new foods or attend concerts or visit loud amusement parks. I knew he wasn't particularly thrilled about any of those things, but they're all very normal couple activities that I wanted us to experience together. Had I been aware of his autism, I would have had a better understanding of how negatively these things affect him, and made more of an effort to integrate things he liked with things I liked, maybe a smaller local band or a craft fair instead of an amusement park. Anyways, that's the backstory. Read below for the update. I confronted him about my conversation with his mother the night before our cancelling appointment. I made sure to bring it up casually so I didn't become angry again. He tried to brush me off at first, saying he didn't know what I was talking about. After talking for a bit, he eventually confessed that he not only knew of the diagnosis, but deliberately kept it from me. He said I was his dream, and he didn't want to do anything to ruin our perfect relationship. I explained to him how keeping this from me hurt me. I explained how I could have been there to support him instead of feeling like he needed to hide. He said he wasn't ashamed of it at all. He explained that it's just not something that affects him anymore. I, again, explained how it affects me, but he didn't seem to care. I didn't show him the post I made, but I used some of the advice from you all to try to explain why his autism really does in fact still affect his life. We went to bed upset. The next day, he acted like nothing happened. We ate breakfast, he had chicken nuggets, and went about our day. I kept expecting him to bring it up, but he never did. I didn't have the nerve to bring it up again until later at the marriage counsellor's office. I spoke to the counsellor so as not to seem accusing and explained that this was an issue that bothered me. My husband actually laughed and said he'd assumed I'd gotten over it by now. When I explained that no, I really hadn't, he got angry with me and stormed out. The counsellor tried to mediate, but it wasn't much use as my husband went to wait in the car. I was worried he'd leave without me, so I cut the meeting short. Our ride home was quiet. It wasn't until we got home that I said I was worried he was keeping other things from me too. He said he'd been reading online about how women can't understand autism, and therefore he didn't think it was important to tell me about it. I said that was the weakest excuse I'd ever heard. He then said that I'd leave him if I knew. I said if I left him, it'd be because he's a liar. Apparently he told all of our mutual friends that he'd just been diagnosed with autism, and I was considering leaving him because of it. Now many of our friends won't talk to me and act very cold when we run into each other in public. I don't know what else he's told them, but I think he told someone I cheated on him as a fake account has been commenting horrible things about me and my supposed sexual habits on all of my Instagram posts. I keep reporting them, but then it seems like another just pops up in its place. I haven't decided if divorce is the right path. I know he's been browsing incel and other bitter male-centric websites. One of his friends is a self-described incel, so I'm even more convinced that this isn't the man I married. I'm mostly just confused. I've been avoiding him at home and it feels like more of a roommate situation at this point. He doesn't really leave his den until it's time for work, and then he's back in the den until bed. It seems like everything is messed up, just from me wanting to help. I don't even know what to expect at this point, much less how to move on from here. There are so many more comments than I anticipated. I'm trying to at least read through most of them, although I think I'm past my emotional ability to reply. I'm really shocked at how overwhelmingly supportive people are being. Thank you. I'm going to be discussing divorce with a lawyer. I don't know how to bring it up with him, but I'm past the point of caring. You're all right. I dread coming home to him in the evenings. I dread if he will miraculously want to talk. This isn't healthy for either of us. At the very least, some time apart would be good. That's all for now. I don't think I'll update past this, as I'm already uncomfortable with how quickly this blew up, but I will be living elsewhere by the end of the month. Wow, what do you say about that one? Jesus. Let's look at a couple comments to round this one off. Wow, he escalated to a preemptive smear campaign to get in front of the story, instead of dealing with his wife and his autism and eating concerns authentically. He chucked the whole thing out. The most annoying thing about all this is, she's going to divorce him and he will choose to see it as her divorcing him because of his autism. He will ignore the fact that his dishonesty has everything to do with it. Then he'll probably go tell his victimhood story to his crappy online incel community. She will be gone. Not her horse, not her rodeo, but still. Yeah, okay, and that's the end of that one. Give me your thoughts down below. I'm sure there's plenty to say about this one. Either way, let's move on to our next story. Okay, jumping over to the Am I the A-hole subreddit, this one was written by user Neor Nightingale, and it's titled, Am I the a-hole for brushing my daughter's friend's extremely matted hair out so she avoids a drastic cut? My daughter has a friend, Anya, 13 female, who has been going through some health issues that I don't want to put here. Anya's mum passed away when she was little, so it's just her and her dad. Since he's started dating his girlfriend, we'll call her Claire, Anya's needs have been pushed to the side a little, and he's just not noticed that Anya has been struggling. She's doing better now after getting the help she needed. However, Anya's hair has been extremely matted as it has not been brushed for months. Anya has been hiding her hair under hats and hoods at home and trying to disguise it at school in buns. She stayed over at the weekend, and I only found out about her hair when they came downstairs after getting a comb stuck in Anya's hair trying to fix it. I comforted Anya as she was ashamed about her hair, but had hoped that she and my daughter could fix it. My daughter convinced her to tell me about it, as she'd been scared to say anything to anyone, as she thought she'd be judged, as her dad's girlfriend has made comments about her appearance when she was going through her health issues. When Anya was going through her issues, I made it clear to her and my daughter that our home is a judgment-free zone, and if she ever wanted to come to me or my husband for help, then she would get it. Anya then asked for help detangling her hair, so that's what I did. We put on some films and worked on detangling Anya's hair. It took hours, but it was doable. When Anya went home on Sunday, her hair was completely detangled and neatly braided into 2 Dutch braids. She was happy and thanked me for helping with her hair. Then Monday, I got an angry phone call from Claire because she was meant to be taking Anya to get her hair cut due to how matted her hair was. Apparently Claire and Anya's dad had noticed how bad it was, and Claire had told me that she would get it sorted. Claire is mad because the salon they were going to had charged her a cancellation fee for cancelling the day of the appointment. Claire wants me to pay her back for the cancellation fee, as it's my fault for fixing Anya's hair when they were going to get it cut out. I told her that I wouldn't be paying it. I just did the right thing by Anya instead of going to the extreme options straight away. Claire then said that Anya was no longer allowed to be friends with my daughter, and they would sue me for the cancellation fee. It was £60, half the cost of the cut. My daughter told me that Anya knew about Claire wanting to cut her hair, and Anya didn't want the haircut, which is why she went to my daughter for help. Anya, like my own daughters, has long hair, so cutting the matted hair out would have meant her losing well over half of the length of her hair. Am I the a-hole for brushing out Anya's hair so she avoided getting a drastic cut? In the comments, not the a-hole, and when they say they're going to sue, you can remind them that that means they are going to stand in front of a judge and admit that they neglected her so badly that her hair was matted enough that it needed cutting. Not the a-hole. You did the right and the kind thing. I can only imagine what the poor girl must be going through, both at school and at home. Kids are merciless, and you can bet she's probably getting bullied if they noticed her hair. It might be time to get CPS involved. If they're letting her hair get so matted their solution was cutting it all off, who knows how else they're neglecting her. Not the a-hole, but depending on your relationship with Anya, it might be worth it to offer half the cancellation fee in hopes that one of the few supportive places she has won't be taken away from her. Really, Claire saved £60 and got a free service from you, but is not operating with any sense of logic on this. Okay, update time. This got more attention than I thought it would. I'd just like to clarify a couple things. 1. While I'm not going to go fully into Anya's health issues, the matted hair is the result of a depressive episode. Once things got better, she was just very embarrassed by the state her hair was in, but didn't know how to fix it, so she hid it and it got worse. She's able to brush and wash her hair when she's okay. 2. Anya isn't being neglected by her dad. He knows he hasn't been the best dad to Anya and is trying to be better when it comes to her. Since Anya's health issues, he has been seeking help. I'm not going to report a man who I can see is trying to get better as a parent. Anya's dad, I'll call him John, came round earlier as he wanted to talk to me. Anya and Claire had gotten into a shouting match yesterday because of the cancelled appointment. Claire had told Anya that she wasn't allowed to see my daughter anymore until I paid the money I owed. This was news to John, and Anya told Claire that she was going to continue seeing her friend. Anya also told Claire that she hated her and that if anyone was going to take the place of her mum, it would be me because I care about Anya as a person, not just her appearance. John wanted to know what had happened with Anya and why I owed Claire money. I explained it all to John and he was horrified to learn that Claire was going to cut Anya's hair short instead of helping her. He had been under the impression that the appointment had been to get her hair detangled and wouldn't have consented to Anya getting a big chop. He hadn't realised how focused Claire had become on Anya's appearance with her hair. He told me that he wasn't going to stop Anya coming around as he knows how important my family is to her. When her mum died and he fell apart, we provided the stability they both needed. I told John that Anya is always welcome here and she knows it, but it's her dad that she needs. She needs him to be there for her, to support her through whatever she is going through. Having her dad will mean more to her than having me there. John agreed with this, and that he knows he's not been the dad that she needs and is going to try to be better for her. He's asked if I could recommend a family therapist who could help them, and I gave him a few names. Since Anya started going through her issues, John has stepped up. He's not the same dad that he was when they started, but he still does have a way to go to be Dad of the Year. Since speaking with John, I've had angry texts from Claire, furious that I went behind her back, and spoke with John when she was dealing with the issue. In the string of angry texts she sent me, she said horrible things about myself, Anya, and my daughter. I'm not engaging with her anymore. She's a walking red flag. I screenshotted them before blocking Claire and sent them to John's work phone. John gave me his work number when he started dating Claire because she'd been screening and deleting messages before he saw them. She doesn't have access to his work phone. My daughter has been messaging Anya making sure she is okay, and she'll be coming to stay at the weekend as she doesn't want to be home when Claire collects her stuff. I'm not sure what is going on with that relationship, nor do I want to know, but it sounds like John is finally putting Anya first. Oh great, so it sounds like Claire's on her way out. Yeah, to be honest, I think that'll be best for everyone. My fiancé secretly went to Paris to see a female friend. Fake names, throw away because my fiancé is a big Reddit user. My 27 female fiancé Eric 27 has a friend Jane 20s female who lives in Paris, France. She had moved by the time we were introducing each other to our friends, so I've only ever met over video chat. Me and Eric had been together for a year and a half, and before we got together, he and Jane were involved. He told me it ended badly, but they did get over it. I don't know exactly what happened, I've never asked. She's really important to him. They do talk once or twice a month over text or video chat, and I know that they have a lot in common. I don't know Jane's situation, but Eric's parents were abusive, and I've pieced together that Jane's were as well. I've never gotten the impression that either one wants to go back to how it was, and he's never given me a reason to be insecure. Until now. He asked me to marry him 3 weeks ago, and I said yes. I was really excited to marry him. But then suddenly a few days ago he announced that he needed to go visit family, which was weird because he cut his family off several years ago. He has expressed to me that he has no interest in seeing them again. He said that it was an important family emergency, and then just left. He kept me updated and we talked a few times on the phone. He told me that his mum was having health issues. I had no reason to be suspicious. Edit. I'm reading that over and it sounds weird, but he's always been very touchy when it comes to talking about his family, and I didn't want to push it. But then, a couple hours ago, I get a message from Jane asking if Eric was okay. I said that he was visiting family, so he was probably just a bit stressed out, which is why he wasn't responding to her messages. She then informed me that he is in Paris with her and snuck a photo of him in her apartment. I haven't replied to her yet. I'm freaking out. I have no idea what to do. He just got on a plane to fly for 12 hours to see her without telling me, presumably last minute. Why is he there? Do I talk to him? Has anyone else been in this kind of situation before? Okay, what is this guy up to? Let's go to the comments. Did you ask her for more details on why she asked if he was okay? Unfortunately, he lied to you. He fabricated a story. He runs off to see her. Did he have second thoughts and wants to see if she still wants to try with him? Opie replies, I haven't replied to her yet since she sent me the photo. The first message was, hey, is Eric okay? He's acting a little strange, which I assumed referred to him not responding. When she told me that he was in Paris, she wrote, he's here? And just sent the picture. If she's messaging you to ask if he's okay, then she's not in on whatever feelings have driven him to visit her. My reading of this is that he's still into her on some level and wanted to perhaps see if there was any reciprocal feelings. If I were you, I'd rethink the relationship. This chap is not 100% sure that you're it. I'm so sorry. Send him the photo and ask him why he's in Paris? I'm guessing he's visiting her for a final attempt at a relationship before he settles with you, to see if she is his love who got away. She knows this and that's why she messaged you. If she was worried about him, he is literally with her so she could ask him. Update me. Yeah, at first I wasn't sure what to think, but I reckon the comments have probably hit it spot on here. Let's go to the update. Thank you for all the comments and advice. I read every single one and I appreciate all the advice. I'm sorry for the late update, but I am extremely tired and haven't really sat down in a week and a half. To just get to the point, I left him. A lot of people were concerned that he'd find the post, but I did change a lot of details. The main issue remains the same. Jane lives in a foreign country, at least 12 hours away, and he decided to go to her without telling me. I also did see some comments discussing the age gap between Eric and Jane. Jane is in her late 20s. I said 20s because I wasn't sure at the time how old she was. After I posted and the comments started rolling in, I had to shut my phone off. There were many people saying that Eric wanted to be with Jane, that he wasn't over her, and I started having a panic attack. I'm not an insecure person usually, and Eric had given me absolutely no reason to be. But this whole thing, I felt very stupid and like I'd been blind. He was always very open about his friendship with Jane and how much she meant to him, but there was absolutely nothing that made me think he still had feelings for her. Honestly, even if he told me he wanted to visit her without me, I'd probably have said that was fine, as long as I got to go on my own vacation. Anyway, I got Jane on the phone the next day. Her story is that he just showed up at her door, claiming that he missed her and that he just needed to get away. She provided proof that she had no idea he was coming, and I have no reason to not believe her when she tells me nothing happened. I think she was angrier than I was. At the time, she figured that something really bad must have happened, either with me or with his family. She knew from past experiences it was better to just let him talk when he was ready, rather than pushing it. She gave it 2 days, during which he was behaving very impulsively, kept spacing out, and he brought up their past multiple times. They hadn't seriously spoken about it since it ended years ago. He's usually the calmer, more level-headed one of the two of them, so this behaviour was extremely out of character. Finally, she decided to text me to see if I knew anything. After I told her that he was with his family, she put it together pretty quick that I had no idea where he was, and she confronted him about it. They got into a massive fight that lasted for hours, and she eventually told him to leave. She didn't really tell me what the fight was about, just that she yelled at him for not telling me, but after talking to him, I've got a hunch. Me and Jane talked for a long time. Both of us were crying by the end of it. I think this whole thing opened up some wounds. She told me their history, a lot of which really surprised me, like how they weren't even really boyfriend-girlfriend and he's the one who ended it. He'd always given me the impression that it was a bad but ultimately mutual breakup. It was just a really toxic situation for both of them, and it took them a long time to get back to being actual friends after. Which brings me to my conversation with Eric. He showed up a few days after I talked with Jane. I'd packed up and left to a friend's at that point. He came over to talk. My friend was in the place the whole time. We talked for a while. I asked him 100 questions and he answered 5 of them. He said he was sorry, that he can't provide an actual explanation for what he did because he doesn't understand why. I said that that wasn't good enough and I needed him to tell me what happened. He said he couldn't because I won't understand. I suggested couples therapy for us. He's been doing it individually since before I met him, but he said he didn't want to. He just wants to forget that it happened. The positive explanation I have is that he had some kind of freak out after we got engaged, or maybe something did happen with his parents and he couldn't talk to me about it, which is fine. I don't necessarily think that if someone is struggling, the first person they should always go to talk about it with is their partner. I'm totally fine with him going to Jane if he was freaking out over the prospect of us getting married, or if he did hear something about his mum. Obviously don't fly to another country and lie about it, but that goes without saying. Jane could probably understand that better than I could, and would know what to say, but he can't even talk to me about it now, nor is he making an effort, so how does that bode? He just wants to pretend that everything is fine and normal, and I just can't do that. On top of all that, up until now he's never been secretive about how he feels or what he's thinking about or his history. He hates talking about it, and is touchy about people asking a lot of questions about it, but he's always told me stuff if I ask. I think if he was panicking over getting married or if something actually happened with his mum, he'd tell me. I couldn't help myself and asked if it was just because he didn't want to talk about the fact that he wants to be with Jane and regrets how he treated her. He denied it, but I think I hit a nerve. He claimed that he doesn't have any leftover feelings for her, other than the fact that she's a big what if. She's important to him, but she's the past, and I'm the future. This may just be my fear talking, but what if this whole time he's been using me to try to make Jane jealous because he's realised that he lost her, and he went to see her to see if she still wanted him just in case. I think that's what they fought about. I think he went there to see her because he realised he still wants her, and she's been off living her life without him, no problem. It's bad enough if that's the case, but if I take him back, what if she changes her mind? I don't have a reason to believe she'll change her mind. She doesn't talk about him the way that I talk about someone I'm romantically interested in, and now that I know their history, I wouldn't want him back either, but who knows? After our conversation, it's obvious that he's not 100% certain that he wants to build a life with me, and he's not willing to do whatever it takes to fix this. I'm not worth the work. He won't even try, and that's basically the big issue for me. I can't build a life with someone who won't put in the effort. So I don't want to be with him. I told him to leave and he left without a fight. I've blocked him on everything. I've talked to Jane a few times since and they have spoken. She told me that he's probably going to take some time off work and figure stuff out. I hope he can get some help. Plus, I know it sounds utterly bizarre, but I think I've actually gained a friend in her. She's checked in on me multiple times and even helped put me in touch with a new place to live that I just moved into. I'm really tired. It's been a really horrible and busy time. Thanks for the support and the advice. I'm glad I found out now before we'd started seriously planning, or worse, after we got married or had children. If I find out anything more, I'll update on my profile. If anyone has any advice on how to deal with the embarrassment, or good ice cream flavours to get through the pain though. Okay guys, and that's the end of that one. Yeah, definitely sounds like he was trying his luck with Jane. It's just a shame that he won't admit it. Give Opie some peace of mind. Anyway, I'm glad she got rid of him. What do you guys think about this one? Let me know. Anyway, let's move on to our next one. Okay, this next one's from Am I the A-hole? It was written by a now deleted account, and it's titled, Am I the a-hole for telling my daughter that she should leave her pet rat at home now my girlfriend has moved in? My, male 45, girlfriend, 45, of 2 years, and I have moved in together. Everything is great and she gets along very well with my children, at least with my son. I share custody of my 2 children, male 16 and female 15, with my ex-wife, 40. There is one problem. My girlfriend has phobia for mice, rats, squirrels, in other words, rodents. This is something we all know and people laugh about it, but it is a serious issue for my girlfriend who can't even see a picture without starting hyperventilating. My daughter got a rat as a present when she turned 15. She brought it home and my girlfriend freaked out and she apparently left the apartment without even noticing that she didn't have her shoes or coat on. I got upset with my daughter because she knows my girlfriend's fear. I told her that she should leave her pet at her mother's house from now on when she comes here. My daughter got upset and started yelling that my girlfriend is being ridiculous, and me too. Her rat wasn't the problem, so it shouldn't have been kept at her mum's, and that my girlfriend should move out since she's the one who has the problem with the rat, not the rat with her. I told her that we are family, and family makes compromises. Now she is saying if her rat isn't welcome, then neither is she, and she's planning to stay with her mum until her rat is allowed or my girlfriend moves out. My ex-wife called me to tell me that I'm the a-hole for choosing my girlfriend. I told her that she was the a-hole for getting my daughter this present. Am I the a-hole? Let's look at some comments. Do right by the rat and get it a buddy because they're extremely social animals and will get really depressed and sad if they're alone. I had 2 pet rats that spent all their time together and they were so cute and lovable. If they have a companion, then they can be left alone without human interaction and be just fine. Maybe not exactly what Opie is looking for, but unconventional solution for the following issues. 1. Daughter is feeling like Opie is choosing the girlfriend over her. 2. Girlfriend is terrified of daughter coming over because rat. 3. Opie is caught between 2 fires. And 4. Rat is miserable. We can fix all this. Rats are not solitary animals. They need friends, and it's sad for a pet rat to live without friends. How about Opie gets daughter another rat as a buddy? That way daughter feels acknowledged in her passion for rats. I feel this. But with the agreement that neither rats are welcome. That way rat has a friend back at mum's place too, and makes both rat and daughter feeling better about it. So daughter is validated and happy with more rats, rat is happier, and girlfriend doesn't have to deal with rats. I had pet rats. They're awesome. I know it can be hard for people who don't share this passion to understand, and that's okay. But daughter needs a bit more on this, regardless in a likely already stressful family situation. Reality is now as it is, cannot turn back time. If OP needs any info on rat buying, please no pet store, they can always hit me up. I love pet rats. Would be a cool thing for dad and daughter to do together too. Honestly, I'd never realised how fun the word rat is to say until I read this. Let's go to an edit from OP. Yeah, well, like many here anticipated, this whole rat thing was planned on purpose, and I have to say, it makes sense, since I never once had the impression that my daughter even liked rats. I was surprised at the birthday party. My girlfriend and I moved in together about 3 weeks ago, and the rat showed up about 10 days ago. I know this now because I've tried to text my daughter about other suggestions, like a second rat, a dog, etc. She has made up her mind. It is her or my girlfriend in the apartment. My son told me all of this. He said that my ex-wife and my daughter have been bashing my girlfriend and calling her home wrecker. Anyway, my daughter can live with her mother for the time being because, legally speaking, children here can decide which parent they want to live with at her age. The plot twist is that my son expressed desire to move in permanently with me instead, and I guess that is because of all the drama. My son hates conflicts and confrontations. Of course, ex-wife is now bombarding my phone because she'll be believing that I've put my son up to this because my son said that he'll start packing a bigger bag today if I agreed to him moving in permanently. He talked about visiting her instead of living there, and I agreed. This is escalating very fast, and I don't seem to have found the brakes to stop the madness. My suggestions made things worse. Thank you for listening. If any 40-plus divorced parents have any advice on how to resolve this issue, I'm all ears. If it is relevant in any way, I didn't leave my ex. She did. One day she sat me down without full warning and told me she wasn't happy anymore and wanted a divorce. Everything went fast afterwards and we were divorced 6 months later. It was never an affair or anything, but I think she liked someone, but it didn't work. After a few months, she said she regretted it and wanted to reconcile, but I didn't feel right about it. And one thing was her finality in her decision, but most importantly, I wasn't in love with her anymore. So she suggested us dating again. We were supposed to keep that a secret in case the spark didn't reignite and we would have built up hope in our kids for nothing, but she probably told them anyway. I started dating my now girlfriend around the same time and I fell in love with her. I ended things with my ex. The odd thing is that she cordially accepted my decision, but apparently she hasn't, and I'm reaping what we sowed now. God, it felt good to vent about it here. Thanks again. And again, any 40-plus divorced parents who would want to talk, hit me up. Absolutely not interested in input from 20-year-olds with no experience of parenting. Fair enough. On to an update. Well, people wanted an update, and here it is. My daughter is refusing to talk to me, and she has moved in with her mum and said that this is permanent. My son moved in here with me, and I can see that he really enjoys it here. I've been blocking my ex-wife's number for periods at a time because I've been receiving all kinds of threats and insults from her, saying I've manipulated my son against her. My son is a very quiet boy, and he never gave me any impression that he's been having a bad time at his mother's. I only noticed when he moved here and started talking and opening up about how miserable he's been. The rat, my daughter decided to free him, and she and her mum drove to the woods and just let it go. Not an expert on rats, but that's the story. My girlfriend and I have decided to get a dog. Maybe that would change my daughter's mind about not visiting, although I must admit that life has been so much easier now when she isn't around, making everyone go on eggshells not to set her off. Both her and her mum refuse therapy. Over and out. Okay guys, and that's the end of that one. Yeah, I reckon that rat's gonna have a pretty steep learning curve going straight into the wild like that. But who knows, I'm not an expert on rats either. Anyway, give me your thoughts about that one, and we'll move on to our next story. Okay, sticking with Am I the A-hole, this one was written by a throwaway account, and it's titled, Am I the A-hole for telling my husband I wouldn't have married him if he didn't have the job he has? I, 38 female, have been married to my husband, 39, for 10 years. We're both doctors and have made a pretty good life for ourselves and our kids, 8 male, 6 female, and 5 female. I didn't really grow up from a lot, as my mum was a single mother, and because of that I was always taught to really know your worth. So when I decided to continue my education to become a doctor, I promised myself I wouldn't settle, and I met my husband in med school. Anyways, onto the point of the post. Me and my husband were mostly just hanging out and watching a movie. In the movie, the main character is a woman who has been abused. I pointed out that she shouldn't have settled for such crap people in the first place. My husband asked me what would be settling in my case, and I gave an example of saying that I probably wouldn't have married him if he didn't have the job he did, or was not accomplished. When I told him that, I could tell his feelings seemed sort of hurt, because his smile kind of fell. The rest of the movie we watched in silence, and that was just that. Everything's really fine, but it's still in my mind, so I'm just going to ask here if I'm the a-hole. I'll include any extra info needed. Edit for info. 1. It's not my husband's job itself, it's more of the ambition or drive to get there. 2. No, my husband is not considering divorcing me. And 3. I'm not a gold digger. Financially, I do not need him. And in the comments? You're the a-hole because of your comment about the woman in the film. Is that how you see your patients? Is that how you see women, children, men who come to you with issues related to family violence? Consider yourself lucky you've had a charmed life so far, and instead of being smug about it, always be aware that the person in need could be you or one of your children one day. You're the a-hole for the way you said it. You could have said that drive is a quality you find attractive. You love him for many reasons, but one of them being how proud you are of him for all the things he's accomplished in his life. Instead, you make it seem like you care about his paycheck. Opie replies, I understand your point of view and admit I could have phrased it better. Thanks for commenting. The message I was trying to get across was he could be the most attractive and have the best personality, but if he's not accomplished, then that's a no-no for me. And if he were accomplished but an a-hole, and doesn't look good in my opinion, I wouldn't date them either. My husband is like the perfect person for me in all aspects. Okay, onto an update. I read most of the comments and they were all very helpful, even if I thought some were harsh. I've talked to my husband about it and how he felt by me saying that. I've told him that when I say his job, I meant the determination was why I'd wanted to marry him, alongside with my physical and emotional attraction to him. I know I've probably hurt his feelings, and my husband said I did, but I admit myself I could have worded it way better. We also discussed this a bit further on how it made him feel and how we thought of my attraction and attitude towards him. Thanks for all the Redditors who helped me see my husband's point of view and understand how he felt in the situation. I'll be tagging some users in an edit since I really can't exit the post right now without it being gone, and I have to write it all over again. Rightio guys, and that's the end of that one. Yeah, pretty good ending there I think. Doesn't hurt to talk about it. And yeah, I actually have to agree with OP here. Quite often the comments on Reddit posts like this are just overly harsh. Am I the a-hole for wanting to divorce my husband because he wants a son? I, 27 female, have been with my husband, 29, for 5 years, married for 3 of those years. Our marriage was perfect and we were so happy. It felt like our entire life was perfect. Church on Sunday, loving husband, beautiful home, all of it. A few months into our marriage, I became pregnant and my husband and I were overjoyed, and so was the rest of our family. My husband was especially happy after finding out our baby was a boy, as he'd always told me he wanted at least one son. I even started to try to attempt to repair my relationship with my mother so our son could have a relationship with his grandparents. I had originally cut off most contact with my mother due to how she treated my brother when he married his husband, though my brother said he was alright with my decision to try to get her back in my life, since he still has love for her and my baby was her first grandchild. However, our son ended up stillborn, and it broke me. I fell into a depression and even at one point considered taking my life, but my husband was there for me during all of it, and we got through the grief. Our marriage felt stronger than ever, and life started slowly feeling beautiful again, even if it no longer felt perfect. About 5 months ago, I found out I'm pregnant again, and then found out soon after that we're having triplets. My husband and I were over the moon, and he was the most doting and loving husband. Since we always said we wanted 2 to 3 children, we agreed we wouldn't try for any more children after this. Because of our and our family's excitement for the triplets, we decided to throw a baby shower and gender reveal party. We trusted my brother with the genders of the triplets, and he bought some confetti cannons with the coloured streamers inside. The baby shower went wonderfully with my parents, in-laws, my brother and his husband and their daughter, and tons of friends and extended family. It was like a dream come true, and I was so excited for the gender reveal. I don't care what the gender of our babies was, I just wanted healthy little babies. But my husband was clearly excited for potentially 3 sons. When the time came, me, my husband and my brother all shot a confetti cannon and all 3 shot out pink confetti. I was so excited, and so was my brother, but my husband screamed at the top of his lungs and hit the table in front of us, hitting it so hard that it actually broke. He screamed at me that I was supposed to give him at least 1 son because I killed his first one. That's when I burst into tears. I'd been so broken up about our son's stillbirth, and a part of me had felt it was my fault. And now here my husband was, the love of my life, telling me that it was. My brother immediately stepped in and tried to get my husband to calm down, but my husband shoved my brother, so my brother instead pulled me inside where I cried in the living room, while my husband's mother tried to calm him down. I could hear him screaming outside about how 3 daughters is too many, how he doesn't want 4 kids but he also wants a son. Ever since that moment, my husband has hardly talked to me. He's been sleeping in the guest room, and when we do interact, he's clearly upset and mad and tries to argue with me. I tried to talk to him about it and asked about how he'll be with our 3 daughters, but he spat at me and told me he'll provide them shelter and food, but he isn't interested in daughters and doesn't plan to have a close relationship with them. That sealed the deal that I want to divorce him, and I cried myself to sleep last night. Earlier today, I confided in my mother and mother-in-law about all this, but they told me I can't divorce my husband just because he wants a son. I don't want my daughters to grow up in an unloving household where their parents constantly argue and their father doesn't love them. The moment my husband said I killed our son, I felt as though I lost all love I had for him in an instant, and I don't want my daughters to be in that kind of household. However, both my mum and mother-in-law say it's just natural for men to want sons, and that at least he isn't saying he'll mistreat them. They treated this as absolute fact, and acted as though I'm just a silly little girl who doesn't know anything. I felt incredibly small and stupid. I don't know what to do. My mother and mother-in-law make me feel like maybe I'm overreacting to my husband's behaviour, but my brother says this is not normal, as he and his husband are both men who absolutely love their daughter. I'm also not sure of what I'll do with myself if I divorce my husband. I don't work, and I'm not sure how I'll be able to find a job that can support me and 3 babies all on my own, or how I'll make time for all of them when I have to work. I feel so lost and helpless. I'm torn on what to do because I worry divorce will be too brash of a decision, and that maybe my mother and mother-in-law are right. Am I the a-hole? What should I do? Wow, let's look at some comments. First, stop sharing your feelings on this and your plans on this with your mother-in-law and mother. They made you feel like you were wrong. This guy says he isn't going to care for them, right? He blamed you for a stillborn baby and has spat on you. You can't stay with this guy. If you get pregnant again, no guarantee it would be a boy. What then? He meant everything he said because he still isn't talking to you. Think about it. He spat on you like you're a piece of trash over something you have no control of. Chew on that for a bit. Stop talking and listening to them. You cannot stay with him. You have to know that. Not the a-hole. You're not divorcing him because he wants a son. You're divorcing him because he has said some truly unforgivable things. I'm so sorry about your son. Please know it wasn't your fault. Your husband is truly vile to say what he did, and that alone is grounds to end your marriage. Good luck, OP. Not the a-hole. I would sleep with one eye open, knowing the dude in the other room thinks weird thoughts like that. I'd also move far away now and change my name. He ain't normal. Hate to break it to your husband, but it's the sperm that determines gender. He's the one who gave you 3 daughters, not the other way around. Also, he spat on you? Get away from him. He's toxic. Yeah, I understand being a little bit disappointed at first about something like that, but actually saying that you're not going to actually care for the daughters because they're not boys, like, that is insanity. Let's see what OP does in the update. I didn't expect to have an update so soon, but after reading everyone's comments I decided to take action immediately and went to my brother's house. We talked for hours through the night and came up with a plan. I am going to divorce my husband. He's shown the kind of man he is, and I don't want to live in or raise daughters in that kind of environment. I'm going to move in with my brother and brother-in-law during all this. He and his husband have a nice large house where I can have my own room and a nursery for the triplets. I originally worried that perhaps myself and 3 babies would be overwhelming or a burden to him and my brother-in-law, but they assured me that they would love to have us here. I knew everything would be okay when my brother even offered to have a baby monitor put in their bedroom so he could help if more than one of the triplets woke up during the night. My brother-in-law has a nice high-paying job and my brother works from home, so I will have a stable environment and my brother will help with his nieces. My own niece is excited for us to live with her. The current plan is I will live with my brother and brother-in-law for a while, and once my babies are old enough, where I feel comfortable putting them in daycare, which my brother-in-law has offered to pay for, then I can try to find a job of my own where I can save up money and eventually move into a nice place of my own with my daughters. I'm so thankful for my brother and brother-in-law. They truly feel like angels. My brother and I are also going no contact with my mother. My brother and I discussed her behaviour with us growing up, how she treated him when he came out and also got married, and how she's treated me these past few days. We decided this was the best course of action, as we've given her many chances in our lives to become more stable and kind, but she's always refused them, and we want our daughters to grow up with a loving family. When I knew my husband had left for church this morning, my brother, brother-in-law and I went to my house and got all my important things such as documents, clothes, and things that are special to me, as well as all the baby things. My brother-in-law's mother watched my niece while we did all this. She's a kind woman and has offered to be a grandmother to my own babies, which I happily accepted. I will admit that I cried. I've cried a lot lately, but mostly happy tears. Because my brother and I didn't go to church, my ladies' Bible study group texted me and asked if we were all right and if we needed anything. I texted them back and told them the truth and what happened, and they were all horrified. They told me they support me and are proud of me for taking action, and are now even planning a bake sale at the church to help raise money for me and my babies. Also, apparently when my husband went out to lunch after church with his men's Bible group, one of the other members is husbands to one of my friends in my Bible group, and when he found out what happened, he yelled at my husband so much that he cried. I got a little bit of joy out of hearing about that, not gonna lie. My pastor even called me and asked if I'm okay, and he let me know that I'll always have people who support me at my church, which I'm very grateful for. After my husband came home from church and saw that most of my stuff was gone, he blew up my phone, but my brother-in-law called him for me and said that he would pay for my husband to get therapy for his grief over our son, and also told him to leave me alone. My husband has not tried to contact me since, and he has yet to give my brother-in-law an answer for his therapy offer. All in all, I'm so grateful for my brother and brother-in-law. I wouldn't be able to do any of this without them. I'm hopeful for the future, and while this isn't the kind of future I imagined myself or my babies, this is definitely the best one I can currently give them. They say it takes a village, and my babies will definitely have a village full of love and support. Thank you, and bless you to everyone who left comments supporting me. I'm grateful for all of them. I'm glad I could give you a very speedy and happy update. Yeah, okay guys, and that's the end of that story. Give me your thoughts down below. Yeah, like Opie said, I think a pretty good outcome, given the situation. Anyway, let's move on to our next story. Okay, we're on the same subreddit. This one was written by user Ordinary Turnover, and it's titled, Am I the a-hole for telling my mum and her husband that I can't wait to turn 18 to leave their house? When I, 16 male, was 5, my mum, 34, had an affair and left me and my dad, 35, for a wealthier man for 2 years. I only saw my mum like 4 or 5 times. I can't even remember, but not more than that. Then she disappeared and didn't contact us again. I even thought that she was dead. I think my dad thought it was too much responsibility for him or was angry at my mum and somehow wanted to take everything that reminded him of her away, so he sent me to live with my maternal aunt, and I only saw him like 2 or 3 times a month for half an hour. Unfortunately, my aunt died of cancer last year. I thought my dad would take me in, but he's busy with his new family, wife and kids. My grandma, Dad's mother, wanted to take me, but then my egg donor came out of the blue to take me. When she came to take me, it was the first time I saw her in 9 years, and it felt weird, and it sucked that she hugged me and kissed me as if nothing happened in those 9 years. She married the man she left us for, and now they have 3 kids, 10 male, 8 female, and 7 female. I've been living with them for 6 months now, and I spend most of the time in my room, since we're in a city 6 hours away and I have no friends here. We rarely speak. She tries to talk to me, but I ignore her and her husband. They try to include me in activities, but it sucks seeing them play the perfect family when I missed everything as a child, so I don't really like them. Her husband tries to make me call him Dad. He tries to spend time with me and talk to me. He knows I love tennis, so he learned about it and has listed me in tennis lessons and wants to talk about it all the time he sees me. He even wants to take me to some matches. He introduces me as his son, and I hate it, since all I see is the guy that stole my mum from me when I needed her the most. It happened yesterday. He asked me to go with him to the grocery store, and then he met a friend of his, and as his friend hasn't seen me in any family photo, he asked about me, and then my mum's husband said, "Here's my firstborn. You didn't know about him because he was living with a sister of my wife's." I didn't make a scene there, but when we got out, I told him to never say he is my father. He is just a homewrecker who stole my mum. We got home, and he told my mum. Then my mum, almost crying, said, "You hate us that much, don't you?" So I said, "Of course. You left me, and now you want to act like nothing happened by playing the happy family. To be honest, I can't wait to turn 18 and leave, and I'm not sure if I ever want to see you again." She started crying, and her husband comforted her, so I just went to my room. They tried to talk to me, but I've just ignored them. I told a friend of mine about this, and he says I'm the a-hole. Update. Not really a big one, but something is something, I guess, since a lot of people have been texting me. My mum and stepdad have been so apologetic. They try to talk to me, but I ignore them. I know it makes me sound terrible, but I can't. I've tried to look at them differently since I posted here by the first time, but I can't. Heaven knows I've tried. I want to try therapy. I need someone to talk to, and I let my mum know it again. But her husband keeps insisting that we must go together to do some family therapy. I don't really want him there because I don't see the point of it. So I'm going to do what somebody suggested. I told him that I'll do the therapy with him, and once we are there, I'll tell the therapist that I don't feel comfortable with him there. Maybe that works. I don't even know if this is moral or even fair, but I don't know what else to do since he's refused to let me go by myself. He already booked the appointment. It's this Tuesday at 3 p.m, so that's what's happening now. I'll let you know if my plan works. Now for a couple comments. Not the a-hole. I'm so sorry for the life you've had. It's hard being a teenager under any circumstances, but you've been dealt a bad hand, and your feelings are valid. Is there any chance you could still live with your grandmother? Your mother and her husband are trying to make up for the wrongs she has done, but if they care, they might let you live with your grandmother if it would make you happier. If that isn't possible, see if you can get into therapy. It won't change your situation, but it will help you cope with it. Good luck, and I hope things work out. OP replies, "They don't want, and my dad doesn't want to take me." Not the a-hole. I'm sorry, but your mum is way too much. She expects you to jump into her arms and everything will be okay. It's not she cheated and now she wants to be in this perfect fantasy land where is sunshine and rainbows. My advice, turn 18, get a job and bolt. Opie replies, "I try to get a part-time job now, but she refuses because her husband convinced her. I need her permission here." Opie makes a separate post. Mum's affair partner, the man she left me for, now came up with the great idea of adopting me, and I'm like, dude, no matter how hard you try, I'll never forgive you. You'll never be my dad. The jerk bought me a car on my 17th birthday, and that's when he came with the wonderful idea of adopting. I haven't even used that damn car, My friends call me ungrateful because they wish their parents gifted them such a thing. The only good thing about living with them is that I can have my privacy and they respect it. Sometimes I feel sorry for him because he's trying so much to make it up to me, but then I remember all the damage he caused and many abandonment issues I have because of that. My mum? Well, we kind of improved our relationship. I wouldn't say I trust her. I wouldn't say I love her either, but we've got to have open conversations in which we bare our souls. I don't buy some of her crappy excuses, but others seem reasonable, even more now that I look backwards. We've had some therapy sessions together in which we both cry like babies, haha. Couple more comments. About the adoption thing. I don't know the laws about regarding this, but I think child welfare professionals will ask the kid how they feel, and they will determine if this is in the child's best interest. In your case, if you've shown such big hatred towards him to the point that you had to go to therapy, then an adoption will probably not happen. The adoption will also result with you resenting him even more. To be honest, I don't know why he thought that it would be a good idea after you've shown how much you don't like him. About your friends, if you've already told them how much his actions screwed you and still invalidate your pain and only see the money your mother's partner spent as a proof of affection, then drop them. These friends are materialistic a-holes that I would not be surprised if they'll end up doing what your mother has done. By the way, how do you get along with your half-siblings? Opie replies, I don't really know the kids. We've interacted a few times, but we aren't like super close. Okay guys, let's go straight to the new update. Hi guys, I know it's been a long time since I posted here for the last time. To be honest, I'd even forgotten about this post until I saw a video on TikTok like 5 days ago. It was my original post and some people were asking for an update. I wanted to comment to let them know what had happened, but my profile picture is a photo of me and I didn't want to feel vulnerable. And I also think that if everything started here, I should post the update here. It was hard to log in since I'd forgotten the password, but I see that a lot of you guys have been reaching out. I highly appreciate that you guys want to know if I'm okay. Sorry if I haven't replied to your comments. I've not checked my Reddit account in 1 year, and the reason why I posted this 5 days later, it's because I didn't have much time. I'll tell you why. Sorry if I make any mistakes typing this. It's a Saturday, 11:08 PM, and I'm on my phone. Grandma died like 8 months ago. We weren't close, but it was still sad. I could attend her funeral. That's where I saw my dad for the last time. He's cut me off his life completely, and I don't know why. I saw him at the funeral, and we hugged. I've tried calling him after that, but he didn't pick up the phone, and like 2 months ago he blocked me on everything. It's hard. It hurts, not gonna lie, but I won't beg for a relationship. He'll regret it one day to find out he rejected someone who loved him and looked up to him, someone who'd have died for him. I'm already 18. I'm preparing my uni application to attend the uni next year. I want to apply for an architecture program. I'm already working as an assistant at an architecture firm, a job my stepdad got me because he's friends with one of the senior architects. They don't pay that much, but it helps me get some experience. My mum and I have improved our relationship. I wouldn't say I trust her or I love her as a child should love their mum, since I still hold some resentment, but our relationship has improved a lot. She still refuses to answer some of my questions. I don't think she ever will, but we have made some progress. She doesn't want me to move out. I'm planning to do it January next year, since I just turned 18 and need to figure out some things. As for my stepdad, it might sound weird, perhaps I'm just being manipulated or this is a consequence of my traumas, but I've never felt loved by anyone like by him. I think he truly cares about me. He worries about my needs and insecurities. One day I even told myself, so this is what a parent's love feels like. Maybe, just maybe, the lack of affection given to me by those who are supposed to love more than anything make me appreciate the things he does a little bit more. Because I need you to understand that I didn't have that growing up. My dad would never call me to see if I got home or school safe, or if I needed something, but stepdad does. I'm literally bearing my soul, and I've never said this to anyone, but I like it when he calls me son. I just pretend I don't. I still call him by his name, but he tells me he dreams about the day I get to call him dad. I don't think I ever will, but let's see what happens. He was against the idea of me working since I didn't need to because he can provide, but ultimately he doesn't have a say. He tells me I don't have to worry about rent or funds because he'll provide, but I don't think I want to be totally dependent for 5 years. So this is pretty much what has happened. I don't know if this is the update you were waiting for, since some of you wanted me to run the second I turned 18, but I still need to find things out and be capable of affording a safe place. Okay guys, and that's the end of that story. Yeah, honestly, even reading like what the stepdad was doing in the first update and the second update, I was kind of thinking that Opie should maybe give this guy a chance. It seems like he's really reaching out. And particularly when Opie found out that his father had just completely cut him out of his life. Like, you need father figures. And it's clear that the stepdad was the only one putting in the effort from the beginning. I don't know, maybe the stepdad came on way too strong, way too early in their relationship, and that's why it didn't work. You gotta remember, Opie's a teenager still, so there's a little bit of angst involved as well. But yeah, maybe I'm missing something. I don't know, let me know. My mother decided to get married the weekend before me. I, 26 female, and my fiancé, 26 male, are getting married in 2 weeks. We've been engaged with our date set for over a year. My mum was the first person we called when we got engaged, and all she said was, "I'm sure I'm the last to know. You're probably sick of hearing congratulations by now." She flew out a couple months later for our engagement party. I was outside with my friend when she stormed outside, past everyone else sobbing, and wouldn't speak to me, except to yell at me to go back inside. Later, she told me she was just overwhelmed. Then she met her boyfriend. She told me he makes her feel so loved, like my fiancé does for me, but that she was also still seeing a few other people, mostly because her new boyfriend doesn't speak any English and my mum doesn't speak Spanish. They communicate through Google Translate. A few months later, my fiancé and I are in my hometown for a childhood friend's wedding. My mother was also invited and brought her boyfriend. I was in the wedding, so my fiancé was stuck next to them for the ceremony. He said they made out the whole time, and whenever they weren't, my mum was complaining. During the reception, if they weren't on the dance floor grinding on each other, they were back at their table making out. He even had his hand up her dress on several occasions. I brought up this behaviour on the drive home, and she said, "He's Latin, he's just very passionate." While we were in town, my maid of honour decided to throw us a wedding shower. I even made sure the bride whose wedding I was in was okay with it first. But it was a great chance for my fiancé to meet all of my friends, people I haven't seen since before the pandemic the last time I was there. My maid of honour tried to include my mum in the planning. Mum said she would bring table decorations and tablecloths. She brought them and then immediately sat down and got on her phone. Didn't bother to even get the things out of the car. I asked her to frost cupcakes if she was just going to sit there while I set up tables. She agreed but complained about it the whole time. Once my friends started showing up, she completely ignored everyone and just sat in the corner on her phone. My fiancé went out of his way to try and include her in every conversation. She knew a lot of people there, girls I'd been friends with since first grade, people I went to high school with, my maid of honour's parents, and she just ignored everyone. Then complained to my fiancé that I wasn't spending time with her, even though I'd set the day before of our trip aside to specifically spend with her and my younger siblings. After we got back from our trip, I found out I was pregnant. Again, she was the first one I called because I knew she'd be upset if she wasn't. I called her several times and she didn't answer, so I called my dad and best friend and told them. When I finally got a hold of her, she said, "Wow, congrats," in the most monotone voice I've ever heard her use in my whole life. At the end of last month, her and my dad both told me they didn't know if they could afford to come to my wedding. Again, the date has been known for over a year. I don't understand why they didn't work out travel and lodgings in advance, not to mention my mother just moved recently to be closer to her boyfriend's job. I was honestly over all of her behaviour at this point, so I figured it would be a good thing if she didn't show, and I was at peace with it. But she worked it out and called me this past week to tell me she got the plane tickets for her, my brother, and her boyfriend. Oh, and by the way, that they were getting married in a week before my own wedding. My fiancé and I both cannot wrap our heads around how she could possibly think this is acceptable. She knows how much we've been looking forward to this, and it just feels like I'm not allowed to have anything for myself. She always needs a slice of whatever I get. Now she's going to come to our wedding and tell everyone that she just got married too. I have to warn our photographers not to speak to her, because I know she'll tell them she just got married and was wondering if they could take a few pictures of them together. She's going to try and make our wedding her wedding without having to pay for any of it. It feels like she's jealous and just wishes to be me. I don't know if it's the pregnancy hormones or if it's past trauma to do with her. We have a long history of not getting along. I thought we'd been doing well in recent years, until I met my fiancé. But I literally never want to speak to her again after this wedding. I'll definitely be going no contact for at least a little while. I don't know if anyone will even read this novel, but I desperately need to get it off my chest. Wow, this certainly doesn't sound like a loving family member. Let's go to the comments. I bet my firstborn that she'll show up in her wedding dress. Opie replies, I asked her what she was wearing and she kept avoiding my question. I was also freaking out about it. I told my bridesmaids if she shows up in anything even remotely white, she's ending up in the pond at our ceremony site. I wouldn't even let her come to the wedding at this point. Opie replies, honestly, nobody wants her there, least of all me. I do want my brother there though, and he lives with her and is dependent on her, so she has to come as well. She sees you as a rival to outdo from the sound of things. Probably disappointed she can't have another baby too. Gross. Maybe you should warn everyone in advance that you're suspicious she's up to something and to watch out for their clothing. That would make everyone steer clear of her while keeping an eye on her at the same time. Opie replies, my bridal party and my future in-laws are aware. My friend whose wedding we attended is one of my bridesmaids, and her husband and parents will be there. They were my second family growing up, and her mother was appalled to get an invitation to my mum's wedding a week before my own, but they said they'd do their best to corral her. But I was just telling my fiancée if she hadn't had a hysterectomy, I bet she'd be telling everyone they're trying to get pregnant. Okay, now for an update. Hi everyone, I just wanted to say thank you for all the well wishes. My wedding was truly the best day of my life. I had the best day ever. No thanks to anyone in my family. A lot happened, so I'll have to keep everything brief. I called my mum before her wedding and told her it was messed up she decided to get married a week before me. She had to have this conversation with someone else, or knew it was coming because she immediately launched into, yeah, I know, but it just kind of happened this way, it wasn't intentional. My friend's mother went to her wedding so she could report back to us. Apparently my mum complained about me the whole time, saying I was mad about nothing, and told her she wasn't allowed to talk about her wedding, which I did, but she had readily agreed to when we were on the phone, saying she wasn't trying to take any attention from me. My whole family missed the rehearsal, which would have been fine if they'd just listened to me about the lineup at least one of the 12 times I told them what they were supposed to be doing. This caused an issue at the wedding. Mum threw a fit, mother-in-law saved the day and set her straight. Mum made it to rehearsal dinner, and after I was finished helping set up, she came to me, grabbed my stomach and started screeching hello to the baby. I backed up and asked her to please not touch me without permission, and she was very upset. Mum refused to smile in any pictures she was in that her husband was not. My sister, she's 14 and the youngest, threw a fit over the food we served. My dad missed our grand entrance and first dance because he left to get her Subway. I told him it was a good thing I decided not to do a father-daughter dance because he would have missed that too. My whole family left early, which was fine because we were under the impression they all had early flights the next morning, which is why they wouldn't make it to brunch. Well, my mother lied to all of us and put my brother on an early morning flight so she and her husband could travel to New York City, we live upstate, and take a little honeymoon. We only found out because one of my bridesmaids and her family ran into her at the Statue of Liberty. My husband is ticked because we would have let my brother stay with us a little bit longer, and because my mum lied to his mum's face about why they couldn't attend brunch. My mum has texted me. I haven't responded and don't plan to. All in all though, absolutely none of this matters to me. I'm married to my best friend. I had my fairy tale wedding, and now in about 4 months we'll have a new baby that I'm over the moon excited for. Several people asked for updates, so I thought I'd share the tea with you guys. Now for a quick edit. A little update to my update. My mum texted me several times asking if I was mad at her, and she spammed me on Facebook on a post I made for my cat's birthday, lol. I responded saying, yes, I was upset for all the reasons I listed above, most of all the lying and sneaking around. Basically, she didn't respond to any of the actually important points I made and just did her best to make me feel guilty, and only acknowledged the parts she felt were defendable, but I told her I need space and we won't be speaking for a while. Now for some final comments. Someone says, congratulations on your wedding, OP. So happy it went somewhat smoothly for you. As for your mother, she has shown her jealousy and efforts to make everything about her. She did not care about being there for you, but being closer to New York City. I'm also from upstate New York too. If I were you, I would cut her completely out of your life, because the next thing will be her trying to make your pregnancy journey about her becoming a grandparent. You have your husband and in-laws too. Also, with your dad, he should have put a stop to your sister having a tantrum because she is 14. That is way too old for that behaviour. I'd Photoshop her out of your wedding photos too. All the best, girlie. Opie replies, part of her reasoning for getting married before me was so that they could make this trip a little honeymoon, which confused me because I was under the impression they would arrive Friday night, stay for the wedding on Saturday, and leave Sunday morning. Now I know she didn't leave until Wednesday. I'm done letting her get to me though, focusing on my new little family. But yeah, I told my husband our child would have to go hungry until we left for the evening if they threw a fit like that, lol. Okie dokie, and we've reached the end of that one. Give me your thoughts down below. Yeah, honestly, it doesn't sound like anyone in her family really has her best interests in mind. Least of all the mum. But yeah, the dad leaving so his daughter could get Subway, and then missing the grand entrance and first dance. Yeah, I wouldn't forget about that anytime soon. Anyway, let's move on to the next story. Okay, this one's from the Am I the A-hole subreddit. It was written on Throwaway account, and it's titled, Am I the a-hole for insisting on sleeping on puppy pads during my period? So I, 28 female, was diagnosed in my teens with menorrhagia, or abnormally heavy and long periods. My periods were so bad I had to take days off school because I literally couldn't sit in class for more than about 20 minutes, even with a pad and a tampon in, or else I'd be bleeding through. It happened enough, my middle school principal contacted my parents to encourage I should stay home during my heaviest days. I'm on medications now, and they've worked to the point I can comfortably go to work and don't have to deal with them as long, but my main issue now mostly comes at night. At night, I still have to wake up about every hour on the hour, or else I will almost definitely overflow. It is exhausting only being able to sleep for about an hour at a time and not even getting restful sleep during those hours, since I'm constantly worrying if my pad is in the right position or if my tampon has already started to overfill. I work night shifts, so I really just appreciate my sleep. This is where my absolute saving grace came in. Puppy pads. Using them, I could actually go to sleep without worrying, since even if I did leak, I wasn't going to have to get up and change all my bedclothes immediately, and I could just sleep. I only need about one per period now, but it's just the peace of mind that I really cherish. However, I've been in a relationship now for about 11 months, and my partner, 29 male, approached me recently to ask that I stop using pads. I was confused since he never seemed to mind them before. I explained why I used them when I first started inviting him over, and he seemed understanding, but he said that he thought it was just a temporary thing, and he finds them incredibly embarrassing to have to explain, especially since we do not have a dog. We left the conversation alone for a few days, since we didn't really get anywhere initially, but then, when I'd been looking in the closet I usually keep my puppy pads in, for something unrelated, I noticed they weren't there anymore. Turns out he had thrown them away. I didn't want to keep arguing, so I went to stay with my parents, but he's been blowing up my phone ever since, telling me that I was overreacting, and that if my periods are really that bad, I should just get a hysterectomy and be done with it. My ex, has since asked if we could talk face to face, since he wants to know if I'm really going to, quote, throw away our whole relationship because of my period. Am I the a-hole? Wait, how is OP throwing away the relationship when he's the one that's got the problem? Let's go to the comments. Not the a-hole. If he thinks it's a problem now, then it will be a problem again. A grown man shouldn't be embarrassed about puppy pads. Him suggesting you get a hysterectomy just to make his life easier is crazy. Let him go. Not the a-hole. Let's distill this down. Your ex-boyfriend prioritizes his embarrassment over your medical needs, and to be clear, this is a medical necessity for you. Heck, he's even suggesting surgery to accommodate his comfort. Why would you even be with a person like that? Throw away a good relationship? What's good about a person whose empathy for you is mutable upon his manufactured embarrassment? He's telling you who he is. Not the a-hole. He's the one who would rather you both sleep soaked in blood than tell his friends that puppy pads can be used for medical reasons by humans. He didn't even have to mention periods to give an answer. I also think the fact that you think you need a content warning for this is telling. There's nothing shameful about your period, and your almost 30-year-old boyfriend is too old to be perpetuating that myth. Don't know if it's helpful or if you're interested, but have you tried cycle liners? They may be more comfortable than the pads. Not the a-hole. Was he clear on why it bothered him so much? The only minus I can see would be the expense. OP replied, he said that it was just embarrassing to have to explain if he had friends over, and while I didn't have room to include in the main post, He has two sisters, and he said that because neither of them ever had to use puppy pads, he doesn't see why I need to. I guess he just thinks they're unnecessary. The commenter replies, "Explain? Why would they have to be out when you'd have visitors?" Opie replied, "We used to host game nights usually every Friday with some mutual friends, and it was not infrequently that they'd stay the night since we'd all have a bit to drink. I assume he more so meant that they could see them in the trash. I do my best to cover them up so they're not gross in the garbage, but they are like a crazy bright green colour, so if you know what they are, then you know what you're looking at. But I could see him maybe also being concerned about people maybe seeing them if our bed wasn't made. Since our friends usually came over every Friday and I work nights, I don't always have time to make the bed." Opie then gives some further info. "I'm realising I should have probably included some more context, but he has two sisters, and so he said that because neither of them use puppy pads, I basically shouldn't have to either. The hysterectomy quote came when I reminded him about how heavy my periods are compared to his sisters, so he was basically telling me that if it was that bad, why haven't I just gotten a hysterectomy, since hysterectomies can be done to treat heavy periods. I did just want to clarify that I do change them immediately when I bleed on them, so if I was going to go to the bathroom at night and the pad was bloody, I'd take it with me to throw it out on the way. No worries about anyone rolling onto it, it's just part of my routine. I do also set alarms. That was why I mentioned in the post I normally need to wake up every hour on the hour. I set alarms at 1 hour intervals to go change, but especially on my heaviest days that it's usually not good enough, so unless I want to stay awake all night sitting on the toilet and not sleep at all, I've been using the puppy pads to help stretch those hour intervals as best as I can manage. I've found that they help for precisely those reasons though too, since if I do bleed on them I can clean them up immediately and not have to strip the whole bed down to wash instead. I've also tried the Diva Cup as well, but the results were really negligible for me. I switch back and forth between tampons and a Diva Cup often, as in my experience I haven't found there's much of a difference. Thank you for your comment. Have a nice day. Okay, on to an update. Well, this is an unexpectedly quick update for sure, but an update nevertheless. I did want to quickly thank everyone who offered their thoughts on my previous post. It might not have been super clear in the original post, but our original argument happened about 2 weeks ago. Time elapsed between our original confrontation and me leaving was a little less than a week, and I've been gone now for about a week and a half. And I posted my story earlier, basically at the end of my rope, thinking over what had happened, and wondering if I really was just overreacting. So thank you, dear Redditors, for helping clear my mind. Also, thank you to everyone who recommended alternatives to puppy pads that might suit me better. The main reason I started using them in the first place was just because my parents had some left over after training their dog at the time, and I'd been living with them, so I just happened to have them on hand. I will definitely be trying some alternatives though, so thank you for all the recommendations. On with the update though. After spending a few hours reading through the responses to my original post, I felt validated enough in my feelings that I actually reached out to his sister, since I didn't want to meet my ex face to face like he had asked. She in turn asked me to call her, and while I won't get into exactly everything we said, she eventually admitted that my ex had actually been cheating on me, and she only learned about it after we'd already broken up because he'd been complaining about me storming out. She didn't know how to reach me until I reached out to her, but basically, as far as she could figure out, my ex saw his other girlfriend whenever I was working nights, and after hearing what I had to say, she thinks he probably invited her over one night when I had a pad pre-prepared for when I got home in the morning, as I would do when I worked nights. So then when I got home, I could just go straight to bed, and she probably saw it, leading to him having to explain it to her. That was why he was so evasive about why he felt the need to explain the puppy pads, and since his birthday is coming up now too, she and I assumed he'd probably brought this whole thing up in the first place because he was planning to bring his other girlfriend over when I had work and didn't want to risk me having a pad down again. Suffice to say, X is staying my ex, and while I am a little upset that his sister didn't find a way to tell me about the other girls sooner, I don't blame her at all. Thanks again, dear Redditors, for all the amazing advice and for helping me lose the rose-coloured glasses. I don't think anyone expected this update, but so it goes, I guess. I won't be checking this as frequently anymore, since it has been an emotional 2 weeks leading up to today, and will undoubtedly be while I work on moving on. But I appreciate each and every one of you. Okay guys, and that's the end of that story. Wow, I did not see that coming, to be honest. But now that I think of it, I do read a lot of stories where a partner complains about some minor habit that has existed before the relationship, and then it turns out later that that person complaining was actually cheating on them. Seems to happen quite a bit here. But yeah, the way that guy was like, just get a hysterectomy is wild. Like, serious red flags there. My parents don't like my boyfriend, so they gave me an ultimatum. Looking for experience and opinions, all are welcome. I'll try to make a long story short. I'm an only child and my current boyfriend and I have been dating for 6 years, starting when I was 19 and he was 20. We met at junior college where we started dating, and after that we went to different UCs but within an hour of each other. My parents met him early on by joining us at dinner. Everything seemed to go well. Then soon after we went to his parents' house who live about 2 hours from my parents so I could meet his family, and after learning this, my mum told me how hurt she was that we didn't come see them too. I expressed that this weekend was for me to meet his family, but it was clear that she felt almost betrayed. Fast forward, my parents invite me up to our cabin and my boyfriend joins. We take my car because it was already loaded with laundry, etc. After we arrive, my dad pulls me aside and pretty much quietly yells at me how wrong it is that I drove and that we took my car. He's the man, he should be driving, blah blah blah. This started everything going forward on a sour note. The cabin is in Tahoe, it gets cold in the winter, so my boyfriend wore a sweatshirt with his hood up during some of the time at the cabin. My parents to this day cite this as weird and rude, as well as a reason they don't like him. As we continue our relationship, it's clear that my parents don't like him, but they can't really give up what I would call good or justifiable reasons. They'll say he's just not a good fit for the family. They don't tell me to stop dating him because they can't, I'm an adult, but they do tell me that I need to keep them and him separate. They don't really want to hear about him and he's not welcome at their house or cabin. He's never cheated on me, abused me, he has no drug problems, etc. Nothing that a normal parent would cite as a problem. Eventually it became an ultimatum given to me by my parents. They'd tell me that if you continue to date him, eventually it would be either him or us and you'll have to choose. Among other things, they would tell me that he'd never be an attorney, which is what he wanted to do, and insinuating that he probably wouldn't be much of anything at all. After undergrad, I started working at a financial firm. He graduated from undergrad at UC Berkeley and was accepted to law school across the country. We were always very serious about each other and made the decision to do long distance until he graduated and moved back to California. My boyfriend has since graduated from law school, moved home and took the bar last month. He starts work this October and had a contract since last year. They've known about this as well. Now, 6 years into our relationship, I call my parents and tell them that we're going to be moving in together. About 20 minutes later, I get a text from my mum saying that she doesn't want to rain on my parade, but that this path excludes her and my dad from my future. That they love me, but they can't be in my life if I choose to be with my boyfriend. I told them I would never understand. Since then, they've sent me more and more text messages saying stuff like, "We feel like we're losing our daughter, this is heartbreaking," etc. And all at the same time, including that this is my choice and my fault. I texted my parents that I thought my boyfriend and I should come over and talk. That texting about this kind of thing is stupid, but not to be patronizing or belittled, and if it turned to screaming, that we would leave. My parents then replied that they wanted to see me face to face to talk, but that my boyfriend isn't allowed. My boyfriend even called my father the night of the initial "we can't be a part of your life" text to try and talk or meet up and see if there was a way to talk through any legitimate concerns. My dad did not answer and responded a week plus later, only to text him that they haven't really ever liked him, that he wants to work through it with me alone, and it's mine and my boyfriend's fault for not trying to address things earlier. Among other ridiculous reasons to not like my boyfriend were, Berkeley isn't a man's college, my dad. One time in college, my professor lost my final exam, and when I found out via my final grades and was frantically calling her to figure out what had happened, my parents told my boyfriend, "See, this is why we didn't want her to have a boyfriend in college." They found ways to blame him for everything. The only thing that ever had any merit was that he wasn't working yet. Well, this was because he was going to school to be a lawyer. Apparently marrying someone who will make a lot of money is a bad thing. My boyfriend is the nicest, most calm and peaceful person ever, and he loves me more than anything. But apparently their pride is more important than being wrong and accepting him. I guess I'm just trying to figure out if this is normal, or if it's as wrong as it feels to my boyfriend and I. Wow. Yeah, unless Opie's purposefully omitting like certain parts of her boyfriend's character or something he did, then no, this is definitely not normal. Let's look at the comments. 1. This is not normal. 2. The unreasonable ones here are your parents. I've dealt with this kind of BS on your boyfriend's end. My bet? There is nothing that your boyfriend can do to make your parents like him, because they would have had a problem with anyone you dated, because you dating and having a totally normal, healthy progression into adulthood relationship means that they get to have less influence in your life. Your parents are doing you a favour here. If they want this to be their hill to die on, let them die there. Your parents are trying to control you. Stand your ground. They gave you an ultimatum. Take it and tell them sorry they don't want to be in yours and the boyfriend's lives. Do not negotiate with terrorists. No, it's not normal. Your boyfriend definitely sounds like a keeper. So many youthful relationships fail, but here you are, still together. Most people would be overjoyed their daughter found a nice guy with a career as a lawyer. Is your family old money by any chance? Because your description of their behaviour makes them sound like that elitist and classist type who expected you to pick a Harvard graduate from the sons of the families within their social circle. Choose your boyfriend. Let your parents discover what their ultimatum really means. They need to be taught that you are your own person, along with the important life lesson to never make an ultimatum unless you know 100% that you will win. Leave the door open for the future in the hope that they will one day pull their heads out of their asses and reach out. Let them know that you are sorry that it has come to this, but they are the ones choosing to walk away, not you, by making it an ultimatum. Good luck to you and your boyfriend for the future. Okay, moving to an update. Hi everyone, updating you all on this long-awaited resolution. After many more hurtful texts from my parents that said they can't accept my partner and that it doesn't matter if he's a good fit for me, if he's not a good fit for my family, that it's never going to work out, I went over in person to meet with them and pick up my legal documents. They made it clear that my boyfriend was not welcome and that this was a family matter they needed to speak with only me about. Clear manipulation, obviously. So I went alone. I'm on my way. I know what I think and how I feel. I'm very sure of what I plan on saying. Thanks to Reddit, I have additional confirmation that I'm not crazy or wrong or a bad person, but they are in fact in the wrong. It was strange, walking into your parents' house and feeling like you're meeting strangers. Kinda felt like having a 26-year-long relationship and being broken up with via text, then having to go pick up your crap and memories from your ex's house, except that your ex is your parents. After about an hour of small talk, we got into the nitty-gritty convo about the elephant in the room. A previous text that week had said, "We don't expect to change your mind, we just want to talk." But it's clear that this in-person meeting was a last-ditch attempt to shake me from my reality and into theirs. They came at me from every angle. He's not a man's man. I don't respect him. I hate him. He's taking away the most precious thing in our life. How could you not hate someone like that? Even at some point physically threatening him. My mum was either agreeing or adding little tidbits and reminders of things she doesn't like about him. Some of which are things I mentioned in my previous post about when I went to meet his family and didn't see her and my dad too. Mentioning also that she doesn't like that I made the first move to talk to my boyfriend and not the other way around. You get the gist. It was all out war on my boyfriend. They tell me I'm depriving them of a son-in-law. They say he is selfish for not breaking up with me years ago when he realised that my parents didn't like him. They even just started blindly throwing out shots like, "I don't even know if he has any friends." Like, what the F, Mum and Dad? Of course you don't know crap about him because you've made me keep my relationship out of earshot for 6 years. But I digress. It ends up being a 3-hour-long conversation where I spoke for all of maybe 5 minutes with my heart rate at 150 the whole time. Thanks for reminding me of that, Apple Watch. They also don't fail to mention a few other shining points, such as, "We knew you would put this on us. This is not an ultimatum. We're just reacting to your decision and choices," was their reply to my saying, "This is not my choice. This is an ultimatum you've given me, and neither my boyfriend or I want this. We knew you would make us the bad guys because we're not #team boyfriend. Any of your friends and family who say we'll come around or it will get better is lying to you and saying what you want to hear." They asked me why they should like or be impressed by my boyfriend. I told them various accolades. Dad replied with, "Education doesn't impress me." I told them how wonderful he was through some of the toughest times in my life in college, and how he supported and kept me sane when even my parents were coming down on me about how I wasn't doing enough. They said, That's what any boyfriend would do. No, Mum and Dad, it's not, and the two of you certainly were making me feel worse that entire time. They said because my boyfriend's dad helped him get through school by paying his tuition, that he's had everything in his life handed to him. Dad said, I think your mum is having an epiphany about who you're becoming, like I'm some monster. They said, we feel like you're not listening to us because I'm not just blindly agreeing to breaking up with my boyfriend. Dad said, this kind of thing happens all the time, as if that makes it normal or justified. At the end, I have to break the news that in between all the hurtful texts and prior to this meeting, my boyfriend and I signed a lease and moved in together. Nothing they were going to say was going to sway me otherwise, even they said that. So we'd taken the leap and made the move the weekend before this meeting. I was commuting about 20 to 30 minutes before the move, and my commute is the same after the move. Only difference is we now live in the same city that my boyfriend, new attorney with crazy early and late hours, works in. Believe me, I had all kinds of requirements prior to this move. It has to be safe, have in-unit washer and dryer, safe parking, etc. And it's only for a year or two while we save money so we can buy a home. Contrary to my parents' belief, I'm capable of rational decisions. I tell them first that we signed the lease and where it is, to try and lighten the blow that I'm outright disobeying them. They start going off about how, of course, making it easy on him again. They saw me always going to my boyfriend's house as me catering to him, even though the only reason was because we were never comfortable being together at their house. Then of course he became essentially banished. So they see this move as me being some smitten teenaged idiot, not about how this is a relationship with compromise. They tell me that my commute is going to be brutal and that I'm lying to myself if I think it's not. Again, I've already been doing it for a week. I know it's not any worse. It's a prettier drive even. But it's clear that I can't slowly ease into it, and I have to just rip off the band-aid because they're straight up just wrong and trying to convince me that I don't know what I'm talking about. So I say, I've already been doing it for a week. We moved in last weekend. They are just dumbfounded. Lol. Like I thought you guys said you weren't planning on changing my mind, so why so surprised that I just went ahead and made my choice? My mum starts crying. My dad keeps saying, you effed up, kid. It's about 10 PM at this point, so now that they know I have a slightly longer drive home, they're kind of sweeping me out the door so I can get home before it gets too much later. My mum gives me this big, sobbing hug. At this point, I've run out of tears. I was crying throughout the entire conversation, but at this point, I was just over the bullcrap. My dad, who rarely even tells me that he loves me, gives me this awkward, desperate hug too that just kind of makes me roll my eyes. I get in the car and drive home just totally exhausted and confused. Truthfully, they did a good job of again making me question my own thoughts and choices, but I get home and just start spilling everything that they said to my boyfriend. He's not surprised, but as I said in my last post, he remains Swiss in all of this and doesn't say anything crappy about them. He just holds me close and lets me vent. Something else that came up during our lovely 3-hour discussion was my anxiety. I previously shared with them that I think they're a huge source of it, and have been throughout my childhood as well. Prior discussions have always gone nowhere. You had it so easy, we don't ask that much of you, etc. Clearly not listening to me. So I brought it up again in this discussion, how my parents are a huge source of anxiety, and my boyfriend is a calm rock in all of it, that I'm so grateful he's such a great partner. My dad screams at me how he never laid an effing hand on me, and how he was physically disciplined as a child, and that he can't own that he and they could have anything to do with my being an anxious person. He even says, you need frickin' therapy. Like, yes dad, thank you, I sure do, and also, F you. Also said, I have a hard time swallowing that I had anything to do with your anxiety. You're gonna have to work out those demons with yourself. All of this to say, the answer you've all waited for is that I moved in with my boyfriend, am keeping my mum and dad at an arm's length, and also I have started therapy. It's 26 years of emotional abuse and narcissism to unpack and learn from, but I'm working through it. The guilt tripping and lack of boundaries is so real, and has been so real for forever. I know my situation isn't as bad as others, and is also worse than others, but for all of you out there in similar situations, seek therapy. It is a really good thing. There's so much behaviour to unlearn and grow from. Even if you don't think it's that bad and that you're doing fine, see a therapist if you can. Your abusers have learned behaviour too. They have learned how to get to you and how to manipulate you, whether it's vindictive or not. They have learned how to make you do what they want and think what they think, and then they know how to make you feel horrible about doing anything differently. Seek counsel in family and friends whose advice you trust. Seek therapy, and above all, trust yourself. I still get very emotional about all of this. It's still a very fresh wound. I mourn the relationship I had with my mum and the one I will never have with my dad. My health is definitely suffering at the moment from all of the stress, but I'm working on getting my mental health back, and I know my body will follow. Breaking the wheel is hard and terrifying. It's like being a crate-trained puppy forever and finally being allowed to go outside. But outside is unknown. The crate is all you know. And even though you know the crate is confining and freedom is in front of you, it's also unfamiliar, uncertain, and frightening. You know it's behind you, and it's easy to want to run back to it. But no matter what is in front of you, it's better than the crate. The crate is not living for yourself. It's living for someone else. So go out and make your own life. I hope this story can help someone else out there like me who is seeking validation about their feelings and situation. Thank you again to all the Redditors who shared their thoughtful insight and advice. It truly got me through the most difficult days of my life. Internet 1, entitled Parents 0. Alrighty, yeah, great little analogy from OP in the end there. And yeah, while it's a sad story, it's ultimately pretty hopeful in the end. I like that. Give me your thoughts about that one down below. Alright, let's go to the next one. Okay, this next one was written by user TweedFox, and it's titled, My boyfriend, 29 male, told me, 27 female, that there was a chance he'd leave me if I was infertile. I was really sick from ages 22 to 24 with my lungs and almost died. The doctors still to this day can't tell me what caused it, and I recovered but still have minor breathing issues from time to time. Me and my boyfriend have been together for 1.5 years, and recently been talking about children in our future. We unfortunately never spoke about things like infertility, which sadly runs in my family. I was quite taken aback when he said there was a chance he'd leave our relationship if I couldn't safely carry a child because of my lungs, currently being reinvestigated, or I was infertile. When I asked him if he was the infertile one, he said he expected me to do the same, but it's something I'd personally never consider leaving him over. We revisited the conversation the next day, and he went from saying there was a chance to him stating that he's 95% sure he wouldn't leave me. I, of course, would never stand in his way of being a father, but I can't seem to shake off the fact that there's this condition attached to our relationship now. It's made me feel like my value is attached to my fertility, and I'm starting to view him in a different light. Am I just being oversensitive? Edit. I just wanted to note that I'm not actually confirmed to be infertile. I'm just at a slight risk because I've had a few women in my family that have had infertility issues, and there's also the concern I wouldn't be able to safely carry a baby due to my lungs. We would obviously have to run tests to have anything confirmed. And in the comments, having biological children together is a very, very common deal breaker for people. It doesn't mean anything about your value though, just your compatibility with him. There are plenty of people who never want kids or who are fine just adopting, etc. Your value isn't decided by one man's desire to be in a relationship with you long term. Too many people tie their value to the opinion of one person they really like, which just makes no sense when you think about it objectively. It's one of those societal pieces of bullcrap that gets pushed on young women especially, that their relationships and marketability in the dating pool are a big part of their value. It's a crock though. Is someone who chooses to be single and childless and uses their time and disposable income to help others less valuable than a mother of 3 who has an "F you, got mine" mentality? What does valuable even mean? You might lose this relationship and that'll suck and feel emotionally devastating, but you'll only lose it due to a fundamental compatibility, not because something is wrong with you. Yeah, what a great comment. I don't think anything else needs to be said there. Let's go to the update. Thank you for everyone who commented and messaged me directly on my recent post about my boyfriend saying he'd potentially leave me if I were infertile. We took a week break and came back to discuss what happened. He explained that he didn't mean what he said and he was in shock because our relationship was falling apart, but I still feel doubtful when, even after 24 hours, he only changed it to being 95% sure he wouldn't leave, and during our recent discussion, he admitted he didn't understand exactly how hurtful it would be for me to hear something like that. After reading everyone's comments, speaking to my friends, family and therapist, we've ended our relationship. Unfortunately, I've realised that after my boyfriend told me there'd be a possibility he'd leave me if I were infertile, that I'm sadly never going to feel secure in this relationship, Knowing that he's told me he is unable to support and stick by me should I face health issues in the future, and it's making me doubt if he can show up for me at all. Which admittedly he's failed to be there for me already this year during my multiple family deaths and important health appointments. I'm devastated and the most heartbroken I've ever been, as I really thought we had a loving and caring relationship and that we would be able to build an amazing life together, but I've realised I'm choosing someone who is never going to choose me and that I deserve better. Okay folks, and that's the end of that one. Give me your thoughts down below. Ultimately, yeah, I think Opie probably made the right decision here. What do you guys think? Either way, that's it from me today. Hope you guys enjoyed those stories. Thanks for making it to the end, and I'll see you all in the next video. Have a good day. Cheers.